Okay, how's everybody doing? Right? Okay, tak?
Good, thank you.
Okay, good.
Hey, why is it the numbers is ada ramai tak datang lagi hari ni? Right? Am I right? Macam ada ramai tak datang ya? Apa
Cuti
lah nak
lagi,
kita?
doktor.
Ha?
Cuti lagi.
Cuti lagi? Cuti apa?
Jalan-jalan.
Jalan-jalan.
Ada
Okay.
few yang inform doktor dia orang lambat sikit kan sebab ada travelling something tu. Ada
Oh yeah, ada orang travelling ya. Okay, fine, no problem. So how's did you manage to have a look at the apa tu the paper yang tadi saya share tu?
Yes.
Ada. Siapa cakap ada tu? Who's that? Don't tell me.
Yes saya doktor.
Okay, alright. What was the paper all about?
It's about the challenge that this person having in a multicultural team lah. Basically
Okay.
he's setting up a team in a international company
Okay.
kan. So multicultural seems to be a problem. Ingatkan
Okay.
jadi satu solution yang boleh help him to be the top 10 company in India kan. Tapi jadi problem arise. So
Okay,
basically,
okay, okay.
Hmm.
So kalau kita tengok, why is you ask yourself, why did I give you that case study?
I tengok challenges of diversity lah and how to manage.
Okay. Actually, that case study is interesting because it covers a lot of things sebenarnya. That's the main reason. It
Banyak
covers
problem.
apa dia? Sorry tak dengar.
Memang banyak betul dia punya problem.
Memang banyak problem dalam tu. That's why I say it's a very good case study because it covers a lot of things dalam HR sebenarnya. Kan? Okay. Alright. Amira, you managed to read the paper tak? Amira Najwa.
I'm sorry, I'm outside. I cannot participate.
Oh, okay. Siti Hanira. Siti Hanira ada tak? Siti Hanira ada tak? Siti Hanira selalu panggil tak pernah jawab. Okay. Khairul Shah ada?
Saya tak baca full lagi lah.
Okay. Hanif dah baca kan Hanif?
Dah baca dah.
Okay. What about Nadia? Nadia dah baca Nadia?
Assalamualaikum doktor dah.
Okay, okay. Right. Now, that paper sebenarnya very interesting because it covers a lot of things. Now, of course, if you read the paper, then it will tell you about David Smith, kan? Guy from US, from UK, kan?
Yeah.
So what he
Yes,
had in
correct.
mind was that he wanted to establish what they call it, a dream team lah. Yeah? So-called people from different countries, different backgrounds, and then apa ni, dia punya criteria is that these people must be experienced from the field of software engineering kan, the development, and also these people ada antara sebabnya they come from different countries because with the idea of it might be easier for SSC, the company, to actually penetrate dalam apa ni, dalam the economies of apa itulah team members ni kan. Katakanlah kat Japan mungkin senang lah, mungkin dia boleh minta tolong the team member from Japan tu untuk penetrate dalam Japan market, same thing dengan US dan Germany dan sebagainya kan, right? So now there's something that you got to ask yourself, okay? Since this is the 4th week, then cuba you tengok the last 3 weeks what we have covered. Okay, so we have covered a lot of things. Satu, minggu pertama we talk about talent management, succession planning. And second week we talk about job description lah. Kita cerita pasal apa tu, talent sourcing. Dan kita cerita pasal macam mana kita deal with employees dan sebagainya. So if you look at it, then of course you would ask a question like, has there been a proper strategies in evaluating these people? Example, ada tak dia tak ceritakan dalam tu? So maybe this is one of the question that you can ask. What is the policy of hiring? So apart from that, apa lagi polisi-polisi berkenaan dengan perhaps checking their backgrounds dan sebagainya? Cross check their with several references dan sebagainya kan? Of course, it has to be more than just because they were from different countries dan sebagainya kan? It has to be more than that, betul tak? Isn't it? Okay. Now, if you look at today's slides yang saya bagi dekat 130 lebih muka surat tu, they cover among other things yang benda-benda yang saya bincangkan tadi. Maknanya, how do you actually check the people that you want to bring in? Apakah mekanisme that you can actually use to look at the talents that you nak check lah to bring in. Yeah? Okay. Kalai, are you there, Kalai? Kalai
Yes,
Selvi.
doctor.
Okay.
Yes, doctor.
Did you manage to read?
No, doctor. I just finished my work. That's why I'm so sorry.
Okay. Hitzi?
Assalamualaikum Doktor. Saya dah baca dah.
Salam. Ya,
Saya dah baca
Syekh.
dah.
Dah baca, okay. What is
Dah.
your comment, Syekh?
So basically like you said lah just now, Smith think that he can manage the multi-racial punya team. So he thought that he can help the SSC to become the top 10 Indians, top 10 Indians company lah, among the top 10 in big company.
Okay,
So,
sure.
so after he had some meetings with his teams, he got to know that there's a lot of problem, especially in communication. Okay, first yang I perasan is communication, then after communication is the character of each of the person.
Okay. Now, I want to stop you there. Right. Now, we studied this in the last 3 weeks, right? So now, if you had been following the discussion and so on, obviously this is not something that we will do, isn't it? Betul tak?
Betul sir, correct.
Because we talked in the first week about job description, job families dan sebagainya kan. So obviously there must be a very clear job description apa nak buat. Dan remember in the first week we talked about kata kerja. You know, if it's a director, manager dan sebagainya, correct? So obviously there's something missing there. So we do not know whether this person, kan dia ada cerita ada two parties tu, they actually in contradiction because ada this guy Turner ni dia tak respect the other person because even though the other person is more senior than him kan, for example. So isu-isu macam tu sepatutnya tidak berlaku. And then secondly, they didn't really say anything about policy of hiring policy.
Betul tak? Tak ada.
Jadi dia mungkin pilih okay sekali tengok, yes, maybe this participant is good, and especially if I had this idea that I want to take somebody outside of India, for example, kan, to make it look like a multinational punya corporation dan sebagainya, then obviously, that's the main target. But the other thing is that why is it that those person, kenapa tidak you check dia punya background dan sebagainya kan, reference dan sebagainya, isn't it? Betul tak?
Betul. Sebab dalam artikel tu pun mention those people, the teams yang dia pick up to, those are the best person with good experience.
Yes. Good experience does not mean that they are the right people for the organization. Betul tak?
Betul, Doktor.
Yes. So you can have like a football team, you bring all the stars, but these stars cannot work together. Betul?
Macam Man U, sir.
Oh, macam I didn't say that. Right? But actually, itu nanti ada orang lain marah nanti. Okay. But actually, similar thing actually happened many years ago. I think in 1990s, if you recall, in 1990s when ada another football team that has a lot of money, and then after that they try to bring in all the Galacticos, you know. So their policy was to buy one Galactico every year, for example. So after some time they assemble so-called stars lah. However, they realized that some of these stars couldn't work with each other because of ego, because of this dan sebagainya kan. But in the end, they managed to solve the problem because they had a very like a very strong manager lah that can manage the characters of all the stars. Yeah. Tapi masa mula-mula that was not the main thing. They thought when they bring in the people, then that can be done. So in that case studies, kalau you tengok, so one of the question could be, okay, if you don't have a policy of hiring, yang quite stringent dan sebagainya, maybe David was not the right person. Betul tak? As a boss, he was not able to control those people. That's why those people behave like that. What do you think? Atia. Atia ada baca dah, Atia?
Tak sempat, Prof.
Tak sempat. Okay.
Yeah.
How about Faris? Faris dah baca, Faris?
Yeah, Doctor.
Dah baca dah?
Yes.
What do you think? Is it an issue about the leader itself?
For me, there are several issues involved.
Okay.
The leader, of course, he has some issue with it, but I think, I think what some of our colleagues had mentioned just now, issues with to manage the cultural diversity in the teams, and also building and maintaining trust is definitely a challenge, especially when it is a very diverse. You have different backgrounds, and for me, the leaders they need to start with finding the best and the most effective way to communicate and minimize the risk of misunderstanding due to diversities.
Okay. Johannes, what is your view on that? Johannes?
Macam Prof cakap tu sebenarnya memang dalam cerita tu sebenarnya banyak problem lah.
Okay.
Problem dia is just not about the cultural difference. It's about the personality difference also. And then maybe the job match tu tak betul. And then the leader tu macam susah sikit buat keputusan. Dia banyak rely to let the team bukan decide for him lah, but dia macam tak he doesn't have the main decision tu. Sepatutnya dia ada main decision tu, cuma yang the others tu cuma working together kan. And then the personality of each of the team yang maybe tak sesuai dalam satu team, sebab dalam satu team sepatutnya kita kena ada campur-campur, ada yang macam ni, ada yang macam tu semua kan. I think the cultural tu memanglah one of the difference, tapi kalau semua pun professional, I think boleh kita manage the cultural difference tu if they know what they should do lah. That's my opinion lah.
Okay, all right. What about Gui Po Chen? Gui Po Chen, what's your view?
I'm not managed to read the article.
Okay, tak sempat baca lagi. Okay. Fatin. Fatin ada?
Ada.
Okay, Fatin. What is your view?
Sorry Doctor, I baru cover one page only, tengah read lagi. Sorry, memang tak sempat lagi. Nanti I comment, okay? Thank you.
Alright. What about Cik Rozihan? Ada tak? Ada? Tak ada lagi? Okay. What about Nur Hashimah?
Ya, saya Doktor.
Okay, what is your view?
Saya rasa Mr. Smith saya rasa dia tak firm.
Okay.
Sebab dia kata dia nak jadikan team tu family lah. SSC punya tu company tu dia nak jadi family. So dia try untuk bagi semua orang peluang lah untuk bercakap. So masalahnya personality diorang ni semuanya jenis yang um, direct lah. Direct cakap, lepas tu degil. Semua ada opinion sendiri, semua nak menang. So saya rasa macam yang Yohanis cakap tadi, memang diorang ada diorang memang pakar diorang punya bidang tu, tapi kerja bagus, tapi personality tak ngam lah.
Okay,
Saya
alright.
rasa sebab dia tak firm tu, so menyebabkan semua orang kira macam mengambil kesempatan lah pada saya lah. Itu pandangan saya.
Okay, okay. So all of you guys ni seems to be quite advanced in the sense that we still have another 3 more weeks to cover. So far, not many of you have attempted to answer the question based on what we have covered. Sebenarnya saya nak tengok jawapan yang apa kita dah cover dalam masa 3 minggu yang lepas. I hint a few times dah. I talk about the job descriptions, I talk about selections, I talk about kan kita belajar benda-benda ni. So these are the things that I want you to focus. The next few of you yang jawab ni, and you try to tailor your answer into what we have covered in the last 3 weeks. Boleh tak? Okay, boleh kita try dengan Syarul Nizam. Ada Syarul Nizam? Atau Syaril? Syaril?
Oh, sir, just joined.
Okay, yes.
Question? What is the question?
The question is that the case study that I shared with you guys study too, right? A few of your friends have already commented. So they have commented a lot of things yang kita belum cover lagi. We are covering those things, but not yet. Tapi I nak tanya based on what we have covered in the last 3 weeks, okay? I want you to try to relate that to ni lah, to the case study apa yang kita dah belajar.
Can you give me a couple of minutes? Let me
Okay.
prepare. Right, thank you.
Okay. What about Daniel? Daniel dah belajar dah? Dah baca dah?
Okay dah. Based on yang artikel tadi tu, what I
Tapi-
can relate from the article is
Based on the article, relate it to the 3 classes that we have
It's about-
gone through.
mostly like staffing and controlling lah, doktor. Sebab kita ada belajar masa first day tu ada planning, staffing, organizing, leading and controlling kan. So the article mostly about staffing and controlling lah, doktor.
Dia kita kata the first thing that we do in the first class, we talk about vision, mission, right? So you need to get the vision, mission correct. That's the first thing. And then the next thing we talk about, whatever you answer, must answer in the people, process and technology, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, then you got to look at the issue into these 3 things. Remember, when you have a case study like this, you can answer it in so many ways. The difference is that the person who gets a better marks or a better answer would be somebody that actually create a good thought process. Right? So kita kena jawab benda ni systematic. Kalau tidak nanti dia akan jadi berserabut. Macam-macam. You can attack from all sort of angles. And then in the end, you might not really focus on the main issues or the technicalities. Jadi jawapan ni jadi macam jawapan yang apa ni lah, it can be anything. So, kita nak menunjukkan kita datang kelas dan kita nak menunjukkan yang kita tahu sedikit-sedikit teori dan sebagainya. Jadi kita cuba relate jawapan kita tu based on best practices yang kita belajar dalam kelas. Yeah, that's why I ask you when you come to the class, there's a lot of discussions, and throughout the discussion, I will try to steer you into, thinking along the line of apa tu lah, jawapan-jawapan yang lebih tepat lah. Yeah, okay, alright. Boleh saya nak minta Siti Salma pula komen.
Ya, betul.
Yes, boleh jawab soalan saya.
Kaedah yang maksudnya yang Prof doktor yang dah ajar yang
Yang 3 minggu saya dah
Kan?
ajar.
Ya.
Then how do you relate that to the case study?
Mungkin kita boleh guna fishbone Ishikawa. Boleh?
Okay, that could also be one of the things that we mentioned about fishbone Ishikawa. Tapi saya tak mengajar sangat dalam ni kan, kelas kan? Because that one is more of a strategic human resource management. That tool is very important lah untuk you tahu what is the problem. Tapi problem tu kita dapat tengok selepas kita ada masalah. Sekarang ni kalau dalam case tadi tu kita boleh cerita banyak lagi benda-benda yang sebelum kita tiba kepada masalah tu. Maknanya these are the things that could have been done by David katakan. For example, there must be a policy, there must be a good job description, there must be a good career track, there must be apa tu sourcing of talent could be done internally, externally. Kalau internally macam mana, kalau externally macam mana. Kan kita discuss this in the last class. Kalau external tu, what is the cost benefit of having it, for example. Then from there you may be able to get the right people. Kata you nak orang daripada Japan, yes, it could be not Hiroshiki too, tetapi it could be somebody else. Yeah, yang actually can also speak English, can also be more open-minded katakan, and things like that. And then katakan the Indian counterparts pula, they are more open-minded as such that they don't actually work long hours to put a pressure on turner kan. Because kalau tidak nanti si turner tu tak boleh balik-balik pula kan. Turner ni dia nak ada work-life balance. But then because his teams are fill up by many people from India, for example, and their orientation is that they like to work late. Jadi then of course there will be conflict of interest ataupun mismatch in the expectation. Betul? Betul tak? What do you think? Anybody wants to comment that? Okay. All right. Now, when we go to this week, kita nak check the mechanism of selecting the right employees. Macam mana? Kita pergi interview, bila orang datang interview, macam dalam case ni, so si David ni had the chance. So this is where we're gonna cover dalam this class. How do you select the right candidate? Have you been in a situation where you need to select one out of 4 or 5 candidates? Ada tak siapa-siapa was in that position? Anybody? Pudita ke? Ada?
Yes, doctor.
Francis. Ada
Yeah.
Francis. Yes. Were you?
Yes.
Did you ever have a privilege of interviewing a group of people and you have to select one? Ada tak?
Yeah, many times, doctor. Yeah. So basically, it comes to shortlisting. For me, it's most important. I would like to ask them, for example, if it's a senior position, I'd like to ask them, what would you do in your first 6 months here as a manager? So from there, I think that gives you a very clear indication of how they are going to do in the first 3 months or 1 month. And that gives you a good idea of whether they know their job. So this is something that we used to do the final criteria for. But I believe that for anyone who is very experienced, for me, the most important is, can they adapt to the company? Can they adapt and to the culture and to the way? Because, when you come into a company, it's like you have so many people that you have to inherit, then you know how to adapt to them rather than they adapt to you, because you are a new person on the block. You are new. And you need to learn how to adapt rather than people adapt to you. And in the end, you change them when they trust you, for example. So this is how I normally look at it.
Okay, I think that is what we can do when we are in the position. I mean, that is a viable options lah. Yeah, there is a company that I know because a friend of mine, when he was studying in the US, he wanted to join one of the top management consulting company. So what actually happened was that he went for the first round of interviews. But the first round of interviews, they actually more or less checked on his thought process. They wanted to see. I mean, of course, I mean, he met all the minimum requirements, so he managed to get the interview. So during the interview, they gave him like case studies and so on, and he managed to demonstrate that he has a good thought process. Okay? He knows how to solve issues because they're not looking into the right answers, but they wanted to see how you think, right? So he managed to influence these people that he knew what to do, right? So then he went to the next round. In the next round, he met with a higher level of personnel in that organization, in that management consulting company. So they gave him different case studies and a more complex case study, and he managed to prove that he knew what he was doing, and he got good thought process and so on. So then he was given a chance to go to the final round. Okay. So this is where, like what Francis mentioned just now, you want to see whether the person can fit into the culture. So he was actually given a credit card. He was given the I think maybe a charge card, maybe American Express, or I can't really remember. This was quite some time ago when he told me about the story. So he was asked to travel to Europe. Again, I'm sorry, I cannot recall the name of the country yet. So he was given a credit card. So the company would actually ask him to purchase what they call it, the airline tickets, to make hotel reservations and so on using the credit card. Yeah. And of course, he can also spend some money to buy food and things like that. Actually, they also wanted to see how he managed his expenses when he's given a credit card lah, basically, yeah. And then he was asked to travel to Europe and spend some time with the partners. Yep. This is when they will see whether this guy fits into their cultures or not. Okay. Betul dekat setengah jam tengok skrin hitam. What happened, Encik Rozihan? What happened?
Don't know, dok. I was online. I siap boleh chat lagi orang tapi tak ada apa-apa. I had to refresh baru dapat balik. So I missed. Yeah, I've been here since 9.
Oh, yeah. We started a little bit late tadi. Dalam 9:03 minit macam tu lah. 9:05 minit.
Oh my God, I wasted half an hour.
It's okay. I was just telling I was asking the class about the case studies, and then I'm just trying to look at how you can answer the case study using your experience in the last 3 classes lah. Actually, you can answer it in so many ways, but then I want to see how you have actually used your knowledge in the last 3 classes to answer these questions lah. Yeah, itu lah basically. So what I wanted to say, apa yang Francis kata tadi itu betul. So he actually went to Europe and then he spent, I think, the weekends over there. So this is when they actually assess his personalities and how he can adapt to the existing culture of the organization. Yeah. Unfortunately, he did not meet that part. He did not meet that criteria lah. For some reasons, mungkin is a little bit difficult ke, I'm not sure. Maybe being a Malaysian and so on, and maybe it's a little bit, it may need some time to adjust himself to the environment in Europe. After all, he studied in the US. Maybe there was a little bit of delay. So in the end, he didn't get the job. So then, of course, they didn't tell him on the spot, right? So basically, he had to go back to America. Then they told him that he didn't get the job. Yeah, and of course, if you ask me what happened to the credit card, the credit card tu dia memang habis kat situ je lah. The whole exercise is they give you the credit card. They want to see how you spend money, and then once you finish the interview, then the credit card terminates lah, habis. Okay, so they actually look at a lot of things in the way you do things. Yeah? Okay. Anybody likes to ask any question or anybody nak tanya ataupun have opinions about that atau apa? Anybody?
I think, Doctor, that was a senior post and the expectation was very high.
They actually bukan senior post. They actually entry level sebenarnya. But the entry level is very difficult and they pay you a lot of money lah. They pay you a lot of money. Kalau kat Malaysia ni gaji dia umur 26 tahun gaji dia dah sampai ke 14-15 ribu dah ya. So they do expect you to have a certain level of apa ni lah, competencies and adaptabilities and so on lah. Yeah. Okay.
But Doctor,
Yeah.
that type of international companies,
Yeah.
when we apply, normal clients apply, they should have some expectation of what they are looking at, because it is an international company, and we should know the background of the company,
Yes,
what they're
yes.
dealing. So definitely there must be some sort of a preparation. There
Sure.
is no solar bocho, so you can't
Yes.
prepare.
Yeah, I think what happened is that if you try to apply to this sort of companies, you can go through the test, apa tu, case studies and so on. I think if you are well prepared, you probably can pass the first 2 rounds. But then if you are asked to spend a weekend with a group of people, then chances are you might get caught if you don't have the right, if you are not in the right fit lah. Kan selalunya kalau kita dekat Malaysia ni kita pergi interview, dia dekat interview tu you can still act lah kan, tapi bila dah start kerja then people get to know you dan sebagainya, they may see a different character of you lah. But then it's already too late lah. Of course you have to give the 3 months dan sebagainya. For this sort of company, they don't want to do that, so they rather spend 2-3 days with you then they spend the whole day and night with you, pergi relax, pergi makan sama dengan you and things like that. And they can make some apa ni lah, between them they can actually discuss, say maybe this is not the right fit ataupun this is the right person that we want for our organizations. Yeah, this kind of organization usually dia tak ada ambil ramai-ramai sangat orang, so they can afford to do that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, there was a hidden agenda in taking him for this sort of interview.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to pick up what else are they expecting. But if you're matured enough in several fields, this type of what do you call the title they give, the job title, you should somehow visualize that the level you are supposed to perform.
Yelah, they like I mentioned to you, these are people who are fresh graduate with 1 or 2 years working experience saja sebenarnya. So and that's the reason why they pay you so much money, because they expect you to, they believe that there are so many fish in the ocean. I just need to catch just a handful of fish, there are certain qualities and so on lah. So I guess they believe they can do that because it's not a mass punya ni kan. So eventually they get the people that they want. Just so happen that my friend was not one of them lah. But then itulah dia. Okay. What about Nurul Haniza? Do you want to comment? Nurul Haniza, are you there? Ada. Nurul Haniza tak ada. Okay. What about Kalimi? How do you know that the measurement that you use ni sebenarnya valid? Like for example, when you want to interview the people, you believe that the mechanism yang macam katakan Francis mentioned tadi tu, you trust that mechanism. How do you make sure that benda tu actually valid? The test mechanism tu valid. The question that you ask are valid questions.
Okay, Assalamualaikum Prof. Okay, untuk mekanisme ini kalau kita interview ramai-ramai
Tak kisahlah. I mean, for a particular position, maybe ada 10 orang datang. So how do you know that you whatever mechanism that you use, sama ada semi-structured interviews ke ataupun apa tu structured interviews ke? Tapi this is you know that these are valid questions. These are valid questions. This question will ensure you or actually ataupun mitigate the risk of not getting the wrong person lah. Macam mana kita nak memastikan tu?
Okay. First untuk interview, for the interview, biasanya kita akan form satu jawatan kuasa. Macam kami di yayasan kita betul jawatan kuasa. So untuk buat tapisan,
So resume tu kita tapis berdasarkan keperluan tu lah.
Hey, never mind. These people meet the minimum requirement already.
Oh,
They already
okay.
met the, I mean, you have the job description, they meet the job description. Now they have attended the interview. That's why I said it's structured
Oh, okay.
or structured or unstructured interviews. But my question is that, how do you know that you have actually asked the right questions?
Oh,
Or the
okay.
mechanism that you use to are valid for you to get the right candidate? How do you know?
Actually, like my organization does, we just you do a structured what's it structured interview lah.
Okay.
Sebenarnya.
Okay,
So
structured
kita,
interview is like this. Macam structured means that you have like 10 questions, you go through one by one. Okay, like the first one, can you tell me about yourself? So
yeah,
I give you 3 minutes to explain about yourself. Then second, maybe can you tell me a little bit about your experience related
yes,
to structured lah.
yes, betul.
Okay,
Ada
okay. So you had that. Okay,
tanya
so
dia pengalaman dia kerja,
mm,
so expected salary dia. So kita tanyalah.
okay, you asked 10 questions, yeah?
Yes.
Hypothetically, you asked 10 questions.
Hmm.
So all 10 of them answered answered all those 10 questions, right? My
Okay.
question is, how do you know that the questions that you ask are the right questions?
Hmm.
You could be asking whatever question, but how do you know that those are the right questions?
Oh, yang tu saya tak pastilah, bro.
Okay, all right. Okay, never mind. Tak apa,
Saya
tak apa.
tak pasti,
We'll
bro.
get to that later.
Sorry.
Okay, anybody has actually done something similar and got a candidate, but it was not the right candidate. Or eventually you realize that, hey, we went through the process. We got a group of people who interviewed a panel. And when the person joins in, we realize that maybe sebulan lepas tu, you realize that actually this was not the right candidate. Ada tak siapa-siapa yang pernah experience like that? Yes, Punita, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Prof. It's not work related. I mean, not on company based, but own house call. Like we are taking like in servant or maid. That one also went wrong. Even we ask the questions based on what she knows and what we accept, also still it goes wrong. So it's on a
Okay.
personal basis, lah.
Okay, okay. So eventually, you have a technique. That means a group of people that you interview to become a maid. Betul lah, they are still employees, right? And then eventually you pick one that you thought was right. And
Yes.
then after they got the job, then you realize the candidate was not the right candidate, right? Betul lah.
Yes, totally.
Sama lah. Cumanya
Sama.
dia tak adalah macam office kita buat tapisan yang mungkin more stringent and things like that, kan? Tapi the thought process is similar. Okay. Anybody else has something similar? Johannes, ada tak something similar?
Doctor, one more try.
Yes.
For example, for example, this is just example. We are looking for officers who will serve in the prison department. Okay. Now we interview them. Normally, what we do is we give like something like case study. This is one of the criteria, case study. For example, when visitors come to visit the inmate, I mean families come and visit the inmate. They ask for example, they want to give some food to be sent to the inmate. Example. So the interviewer wants to know through this case whether this person has got some logical thinking to follow the procedure, or through belas kasihan, he will just accept and send. So these type of questions will be thrown to test whether they know something about the procedures.
Okay, Shadid, I think you didn't get what I was saying just now. Bila kita tanya soalan, whether they get the answer correct or wrong, it's easy. for you to pick candidate whether it's the right candidate or wrong candidate. You could ask an ethical question. For example, you ask an ethical questions and then somebody answer it unethically, so it was not the right candidate. That's not my question. My question is, did you ask the right question? You understand?
I think to evaluate his knowledge, his what do you call aptitude to the job, he should have this type of what do you call good, correct answers. This is what we want to see from him.
Okay. Okay, dia macam ni maybe I give you a very simpler question lah. I make it simple for you. Okay. That's why I said I give a scenario, 10 questions, everybody answered it similarly. So you get 10 good candidates. Okay, because everybody asks you a similar question, right? Apa tu answer dia similar lah, because say for example the answers are in the textbook, no problem. But the question is, did you ask the right question? How do you know? How do you know that you have asked the right question? Itu soalan dia.
Yeah.
So macam tadi Punita cakap kan, okay, I've asked the question and based on the questions, this person answered the best. Therefore, I picked the person. When I picked the person, I realized it was not the right. It was not the right candidate. So the question is that, did I ask the right question? How do you know? My question is, how do you know that you asked the right question? Itu soalan dia.
Doc, when you get the right candidate, then your question are right lah.
Setuju.
Why I ask you this question is that later on, bila you nak buat you punya project paper nanti, supervisor you akan tanya. Dia akan tanya you, sebenarnya apa yang kita belajar ni semua thought process je sebenarnya. Dia bukan ada right or wrong answer. Tapi nanti bila you settle lah, bila you nak buat project paper, dia ada dua katakan. Salah satu daripada option is you want to do it either qualitative or quantitative katakan. Okay. So bila dia kata, okay, what sort of question you gonna ask? Okay, you pergi cari dalam buku dia, letaklah 10 soalan dalam tu. The first question they will ask you, are this question valid? Then you kata, yelah valid lah. Semua orang tanya soalan macam ni. Okay, how do you prove that it's valid? How do you prove that it's valid? Macam ni you nak jawab? Or just because everybody asks the same question, then therefore I ask the same question. And you answer something like that, mana boleh? Dia mesti ada soalan yang you tanya tu valid ke? Valid. Soalan dia, bukan soalan tu valid. Tetapi macam mana kita nak tahu soalan tu valid? That's my question.
You must explain why you pick those questions. Dia cover behavior ke, dia cover attitude ke, kan?
Ya, tetapi okay, sekarang ni katalah I nak tanya soalan yang berkenaan dengan ethics. Okay, I tanya soalan ethics. Still you tak tanya soalan tu lagi. Adakah soalan tu valid? You can ask a question, but then okay, macam contoh I tanya, okay, tim mana yang paling bagus sekali dalam dunia? Tim bola sepak mana yang paling bagus sekali dalam dunia?
Liverpool.
Okay.
Arsenal.
So you say for example, whatever your answer is, because you have a set of criteria, right? Francis may have a different set of criteria. He said something else. And then somebody say, tak boleh lah, Manchester City lah, sebab dia dah menang piala macam-macam dia, so dia ada best. And somebody say, yelah dia kaki tipu boleh lah. Kan? Ataupun somebody say, yelah, so what is the measurement that you're talking about here? If we put everybody on the same scale, then obviously this guy is not on the same scale. So maybe if you have somebody yang lebih hypothetical, then say, let's be fair. If you be fair, then you will be able to have a better measurement. Contoh macam Manchester United punya boss kata, second best goalkeeper is the Manchester United punya goalkeeper. Orang pun terkejut. Why do you say something like that? Lepas tu dia tengok, dia guna measurement yang lain. Dan orang lain semua tak guna that measurement. Kan? So everybody can have different measurement. So my question is that if you use different measurement, obviously macam you kata you nak soalan ni, you bagi je soalan ni. Tapi macam mana soalan tu jadi valid? Sama juga macam cikgu. Bila dia nak tanya soalan dalam peperiksaan, macam mana dia tahu soalan yang dia tanya tu adalah soalan yang betul ataupun sekadar tanya je soalan.
Okay, Doktor, saya cubalah.
Okay.
The keyword is alignment.
Alignment, okay.
The question must be aligned with the company goals. And the second one is whether the question is aligned with the candidate's goal. So that means kalau kita boleh ask question that they can answer, both can be aligned together, then I think we gonna have the right candidate. That's my view.
Okay. Lagi? Boleh tak somebody else try to comment on that? Nurul Haniza?
Maybe to yeah, Doctor, just
Yes.
to continue what Zulilmi said just now.
Okay.
Maybe to make sure that the questions are aligned with the job requirement itself. Then we
Okay.
know that whether we have the right candidates or not.
Okay. Dia sebenarnya, okay, since we have been going around and ask this thing.
Doctor,
Yes, Nadia.
maybe we can use a STAR method. The question is based on the STAR, which is situations of the jobs, actions, and tasks. Yeah, because we look into the job itself, we dig into the job based on the STAR method.
Okay. Actually, bila you Google, katakanlah you want to hire a policeman. You pergi Google, what sort of question should I ask if I want to hire a policeman? Dia pun bagilah satu list of question. And then you say, yalah, this question makes sense lah. Baguslah this question, for example, kan. And then you ask. And then it turns out to be good lah. So you say, like macam tadi siapa cakap, so you got the right candidate because you ask the right question, katakan, okay, by chance. Actually, the thought process is not like that. Dan bila you jawab nanti, bila you nak buat you punya project paper dan sebagainya, dia akan timbul masalah ni. Yang dia kata, is it feasible? Is it viable? Okay, viable ni soalan you ni viable ke tidak? You kena test soalan you ni sebenarnya. Okay, kalau I tak mau ajar, you will go through the technicalities. You ask a set of question, dia ada kiraan dia sebenarnya. Yang dipanggil Comrade Alpha. So a list of their questions tu, bila kita buat dia punya pilot testing, it must achieve more than 0.7. Then only the question become valid. Jadi apa yang you pergi Google dalam internet tu, chances are those questions have gone through its test. Jadi dia nampak valid lah. Jadi bila you cut and paste masuk dalam dia punya question, chances you might get it right. Tetapi you do not know how you got it right. Sekarang ni saya ajar. Maknanya bila you ask a set of questions tu, you kena check dia punya validity. So test of questions tu ada kena mengena dengan validity test. Itu dia jawapan dia sebenarnya. Yeah? So it's a little bit technical. That's why when you hire consulting,
Maaf doktor
Ya.
ulang doktor. Ulang lagi sekali boleh tak doktor? Saya macam confused.
Okay, tak apa. Yeah, okay, maybe after this what you can do is that you Google about validity. How do I check the validity of my questionnaires ataupun my questions? Dia ada teknik dia. Okay, so when you want to ask a questions, you kena check the validity of your questions. Yeah, tak semestinya memang betul apa kebanyakan orang yang bercakap tu dia bercakap bila dia tanya ada kena dengan soalan tu betul. Saya tak cakap salah, but I ask you the thought process or how did you derive to that. So chances are mungkin many of you have not gone through that, tetapi there is a test of validity. So the question that you ask tu must be valid. So nak test the validity tu dia ada technical punya way of assessing the questions. And dia cara dia ialah bila you test tu, you kena buat satu pilot testing and then after you have done the pilot testing, dia kena achieve 0.7 alpha. Dia ada kiraan dia. Then only you realize that this variable ataupun this question dalam variable tu adalah valid. Okay? Boleh ya? Tak apa. Yang ini saya nak tengok saja anybody as an idea atau tidak. Kalau tidak, tak apa. You go back and you try to look into this sort of thing later on. Yeah? Bukan saya kata soalan yang you tanya tu tak valid. Cumanya, I want to know whether you know or not how that question becomes valid. Apa technicalities?
Selama ni candidate semua tak betul lah, Dok.
Bukan tak betul. The chances are you got it right because you tanya soalan-soalan yang lazim orang tanya. Tapi you tak tahu soalan tu asalnya dari mana. Macam mana orang yang pertama create that questions. Jadi after over a year, 30 years ketika you bekerja, you have always listened to this question, then you believe it's the right questions. Maknanya you tak sure dari source mana you dapat benda ni. Okay, because over the years you have listened to these questions and you realize that yes, it is the right question to ask. Kan? Tetapi bila kita tanya macam mana you tahu soalan tu valid ke tidak, you tak tahu asas dia macam mana. That is the point that I was trying to make just now. I bukan kata soalan you tanya tu salah. Itu tapi kita nak tahu macam mana how the question become valid. Sorry, tadi somebody Francis wanted to say something along the way. Tapi tidak diberi peluang. Yes, Francis, you want to say something ke tadi?
No. I just because someone mentioned Liverpool, I said Arsenal. Yeah. Arsenal is number 1 now, right?
Temporary, I guess.
Tonight we see.
Season lama lagi kan. Okay, alright. Okay. So that is one of the things yang I nak you check, validity of the questions, to test the validity dan sebagainya. So sebenarnya validity ni ada kena mengenai dengan accuracy. Accuracy of the test, maknanya benda tu is accurate. Kalau katakanlah you nak check berapa panjang satu jalan tu dan sebagainya, maknanya the tools that you use tu must be accurate. For example, like for example, if you want to test a candidate, maknanya ada satu mechanism yang you boleh guna. For example, if you say, alright, there's a few things that kita nak check. Kita nak check katakan dia punya IQ lah, for example. Now, if you give a question to 10 people and then you tell them that you can complete it anytime you like, as long as you complete it, then it's okay. Then obviously somebody will take one question 10 minutes, some people to take it maybe 2-3 hours because they want to check with their friends dan sebagainya. Tapi kalau you katakan, I give you 40 minutes to answer 40 questions, at a time base, for example. So then you limit the chances of variation in your your assessment. So the accuracy will become better, kan? Sama juga macam orang nak lari, kan? So kita kata, if you nak lari, dia kena based on 100 meters katakan. Because that is the measurement. And then how we measure this 100 meters ni is by using the time. Seconds katakan. Dia bukan kata agak-agak saja. Okay, you 10 saat atau 11 saat. Apa dia punya mechanism yang dia nak check. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell here is that when you create questions dan sebagainya, chances are if you create a structured questions against unstructured questions, then chances are your structured questions are more feasible lah, maknanya lebih feasible kepada accuracy as compared to unstructured questions. This one I want somebody to comment. Maybe Atia, would you like to comment on that between the structured and unstructured questions? Atia ada tak?
Sorry Prof, apa soalan dia?
Okay, structured dengan unstructured. Okay.
Structure and unstructured
Question.
question.
Macam mana kita kita nak memastikan structured dengan unstructured question ni? Tadi saya kata tadi, bila kita gunakan structured question, then it becomes more feasible to achieve a more accurate punya testing as compared to unstructured. That's why I asked you to comment on that. Do you agree, not agree? So if you agree, why you agree? And if you don't agree, why you don't agree?
Bagi pendapat saya lah, kalau when we do the interview, if we use structured question means we will have we will know what question to ask, what is the right question to ask to all candidates. So when they answer to the question, so from there we can evaluate their performance or their mindset on the things that we ask.
Okay. Johannes, would you like to comment?
Hmm, biasanya kita buat sepatutnya lah. Kadang-kadang tak buat jugalah. It should be a structured punya question. Sebab kalau structured tu kita dah tailor-made to the job requirement untuk yang kita interview tu lah. Kalau kita unstructured, maybe different candidate we will ask different questions. So bila comparison
Same
tu
position.
mungkin
For the same position,
yes,
different candidate got different question, betul?
ya, kadang-kadang kita akan terlupa lah nak tanya benda yang sepatutnya kita tanya kalau kita tak buat benda tu as a structured question lah kan. Kalau the panel interviewer tu datang tangan kosong je tak ada structured question, I think question yang maybe this candidate macam susah jawab kan, tapi dah ada candidate tu kita tak tanya pun soalan tu. So kat situ ada kemungkinan kita tak sama rata lah kita tanya tu. So yang unstructured tu maybe a bit lah, bila kemudian tu kadang-kadang kita based on the personality of the situation lah, personality and situation. Kalau situation candidate ni dia cakap dia macam ni, so kita punya yang unstructured tu based on jawapan dia lah yang unstructured tu. Ada jugalah part of it the unstructured, tapi the structured one tu must be related to the job requirement, and every candidate must also kita mesti tanya all candidates lebih kurang the same question lah to get the correct evaluation for each. For me lah, that's my view lah.
Okay.
Kalau kita buat.
Okay. Cik Rozihan, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I think structure. In an interview, you need both code. I think you need the structured questions to give some sort of conformity, uniformity, but I think unstructured questions is interesting because you can see the quick response on the spot, and it's not within the system, and you can see how you can test the creativity of the person's answers and dia punya ability lah to take surprise.
So would I say, can I say that perhaps what usually happens in real life is that you define structured as guidelines of what to ask, but you don't really have a structured question. That means the question is not exactly the same, but more or less along the same theme.
Yes.
And therefore, you then could ask unstructured questions.
Doctor, I think if you interview 100 people, doctor, I think better you use structured, because 100 people, for you to access every answer, if you use unstructured, it's going to be troublesome lah. Kalau you use structured, you can have a set of data yang sama je dia punya soalan, and then you can have marks lah for each of the question. I think structured and unstructured ni ikut position yang you nak ambil tu.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to see the answer. Yes. Siapa nak jawab?
Saya. To add more to what Ide said as well. Macam dia cakap tadi, if we are interviewing multiple candidates lah kan, we should ask more structured interview lah, more structured question. But then, let's say kalau katakan kita dah shortlisted and we have this particular candidate yang macam kita memang nak tahu lagi lebih lagi, that's where we unstructured question.
I think betul lah apa yang cakap tadi. Kalau you ada 100 candidates of coming and maybe the position is is a standard punya role dan sebagainya, maybe structured way of doing things is question will do the job. But then when it comes to certain position, higher position dan sebagainya, where you need to have some critical thinking dan sebagainya, maybe what you can have is a guidelines of what to ask, and then along the way, then you can ask questions and you can go deeper and so on to actually test, the candidate about apa ni, about dia punya ideas lah dan sebagainya. Betul tak? Would that be the case, Cik Rozihan?
Yes, Doc. Sorry, tengah mengunyah. Yeah. Betul.
Okay.
I mean, I think I agree with kawan-kawan tadi tu. It depends on the position. Kalau if we're talking about 150 plus candidates, definitely you can't go with the unstructured.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, siapa ni? Francis, are you agreeable to that?
Yes, doctor.
Boleh Okay,
Yeah.
agreeable to that. Okay.
Doctor,
Yes. Siapa nak cakap ni?
yeah.
Syaril.
Yeah. I think if you have a for structured question, it's not an exact question given to everybody, but it's based on the subject matter or topic. Question 1 is say a topic. Question 2 is a topic. Then easy for them to evaluate the answers given by them.
Itu dah saya kata tadi. What you have is actually a guidelines and then you ask them based on certain themes. Kan, certain themes, THEMES themes lah. Maknanya, okay, the first one, I wanted to ask you about your experience, katakan. And when you start talking about the experience, then you dwell into it, then this is where you have the unstructured questions that you ask in a structured punya manner lah. Maknanya, first part is about job related. Second part is about family, katakan. Third part, perhaps about your education dan sebagainya lah kan. That one is structured, blended with unstructured lah. Selalunya macam tu saya rasa lah. For many of the position yang mungkin tinggi sikit lah kan.
Could you also use structured ni as a first round filtering?
Yes. Usually people do that. Macam siapa tu cakap tadi, because you have like 100 over people that you want to test, macam mana pula you nak tanya soalan-soalan yang agak berbeza kan? Susah pula you nak apa tu filter the candidates kan? Yeah, okay, that's a good way of assessment. Okay.
Doctor?
Yes.
Structured, when you have structured question in an interview, you see the candidate performing well. Can we throw an unstructured question to see what level he can think?
Ya, boleh juga. Maksud saya, it depends on the position sebenarnya kan. Sometimes if the position is, is a very, very routine punya positions, then usually they don't have to think very much. So they probably just execute saja according to the system. Basically a doer. So kadang-kadang dua ni dia tidak memerlukan berfikir panjang. Jadi kalau you ask them complex question pun dia tak boleh jawab. Kan? Jadi I think it all depends on the positions lah. Kalau positions to require creativity dan sebagainya, then perhaps you want to check on dia punya dia punya capability to think, dia punya thought process dan sebagainya kan. Dia ada berbeza sikit lah daripada segitu. Yeah? Okay? Boleh agree?
Agrees, but sometimes the board just want to clear their boring or boredom. They ask very funny questions and they laugh among themselves.
Yes. Actually, we also did that dulu. Ada a few months ago when I was trying to recruit some of my staff, we asked them questions yang relating to that lah. Di mana kita pun tanya siapakah Perdana Menteri yang ke-10. So bila kita tanya siapakah Perdana Menteri yang ke-10, semua orang tak tahu siapa. Bila kita kata PMX, baru dia tahu Perdana Menteri yang ke-10. Dia bukan tak tahu, dia jadi menggelabah. Tak pernah dengar perkataan tu kan. Lepas tu kita trick pula dia, kata saya bukan tanya siapakah Perdana Menteri sekarang saya tanya siapakah Perdana Menteri yang ke-10. Jadi orang tu duk berkira 1, 2, 3 sampai 10 kan. Lepas tu tertinggal 4 nombor kan. Ya. Okay. Ni siapa ni, Khairul kata structured and unstructured are going in a parallel manner. Okay. So kita dah habis that part. Anybody has any other questions to ask? Ada siapa-siapa nak tanya? So what I want you to do is that perhaps when you go back nanti, when you have a spare time dan sebagainya, look at how can you check on the validity of the questions, the technical part of it lah. Just cuba faham-faham sikit aja lah. Nanti I'm sure later on when you do your project paper, this is when you will cover it lah. So at least sekarang ni kalau orang tanya, how do you know your validity of the questions, then you can say that, when you actually have to go through a validity test of your questions, assuming that your questions are structured questions lah. These are the variables that you're testing. For example, let me ask, let me share with you a little bit technicalities. Bila kita kata teori, what do you understand by theory? What do you understand by theory? Anybody can give a simple answer? Apa tu teori? Faiz boleh jawab. Faris. Faris boleh cuba jawab. What is teori, Faris?
Yeah, Doctor.
Yeah.
It's a way to it's structured ideas to explain a phenomena.
Okay, Daniel, boleh cuba Daniel. What is teori?
Theory macam is a prepared punya prepared punya benda lah. Teori kan.
Teori ni, bila orang kata teori lah, teori. Apa tu teori sebenarnya? Macam mana kita nak relatekan teori tu dengan validity? Dia ada sebab. Teori ni, makna teori tu benda tu telah ditest. Dan bila ditest menggunakan accuracy, menggunakan skala yang dianggap sebagai accurate, which means that the measurement to check whether the apa benda yang you test tu is accurate, the measurement itself is the right measurement. Then only you can test the thing kan. Then biasanya teori ni is that out of 100 times if I ask, ataupun out of 100 times if I measure it, 95 times I achieve the same answer. I get the same answer. Then it becomes a theory. Itulah maksud dia teori. Okay?
Tu macam scientific method lah kan.
Ya, scientific method. Kalau dikatakan kalau
you establish facts through test kan.
Itu sebenarnya, tapi kita today kita take for granted. Sebab tu saya kata you need to know the thought process. Katakanlah employers katakan kalau hujan kita allow lah orang datang lambat sikit, setengah jam lambat tu tak apa, for example. Then somebody will ask, how is this a policy? Then you say, it's a theory. When it rains, traffic jam berlaku. Bila traffic jam berlaku, orang akan datang lambat. So I look at it in that process, then I say that actually it doesn't make sense. If somebody were to come at 9 o'clock when it rains, memang tak boleh dapat, for example. They are going to be late. So I might as well kita put in our policy, kalau hujan saja, 11 pagi, kita allow people to come in lambat sampai 9:30, for example. For example. That is actually a theory. Okay. Okay, boleh. Ada siapa-siapa nak tanya soalan tentang tu?
Doctor, the theory that hujan boleh datang lambat doesn't apply to the old school. When a person joins the police force, they siap bagi dengan raincoat. Hujan, you must be on time for duty.
Okay. Yes. I think it all depends lah. Ada certain jobs are more critical than others dan sebagainya. But what I'm trying to say is that is how you develop a theory. So from there you can create some kind of predictabilities lah. Mana kata kalau you get something out of if you are the 5% outliers, then that means that it's not part of the theory. Theory ni dia bukan 100% correct. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you want to say a theory, that means that a few variables make a theory. A few variables will make a theory. For example, if you want to find the right candidate, you kata these are the parameters that I want to check. First parameter is dia punya ethics. Etika tu penting. Second, I nak check dia punya attitude. Ketiga, I nak tengok dia punya capabilities to work in a team, for example. 4, saya nak tengok communication. So actually, there are 4 different variables. Okay, there are 4 different variables. So now, how do you know that all these 4 different variables actually contributes to have a good candidate, for example, right? So you can test that satu tu, dan setiap variable tu, attitude, ada soalan dalam tu pula. Mungkin 5-6 soalan you kena tanya. This is where I told you just now, you need to check the component alpha 0.7. Then only you know, bila you combine, you realize that this attitude, for example, ataupun ethics, is actually one of the criteria that I need to check. Kalau tidak, dia bukan satu kriteria yang patut ditanya dalam menilai seseorang as part of the interview questions, for example. Okay, ini actually it's a little bit technical lah. Saya tak expect you cover benda ni. Mungkin nanti bila you buat project paper you, nanti you akan cover lah. Tapi it's good for you to have some idea. That means that questions are not plucked from the sky. Okay, itu kadang-kadang people dia tanya ikut nafsu soalan kan. Jadi bila kita tanya asas dia tu, dia tak tahu asas dia daripada mana. Ya. Ni Khairul nak tanya atau idea propose. Is it Comrade Alpha? Ya, betul. Comrade Alpha, betul. Ya, Inzai Comrade Alpha. Nanti you check apa tu Comrade Alpha. Macam mana nak calculate the Comrade Alpha. Ya. Benda-benda ni biasanya kalau you buat project paper, benda ni memang you kena tunjuk lah. Okay. So bila you dah tunjuk nanti you kata, oh first semester lagi aku dah tahu dah. Rupanya macam ni orang bertanya soalan, create soalan. Macam mana I want to get the right data? If I simply ask any question. So the first thing people will ask, did you ask the right question? Do you know the validity of your question? Jadi adalah dia punya thought process. Okay? Boleh? Nadia, boleh Nadia?
Boleh Doktor.
Okay. Any other comments, Siti Salma? Ada nak komen apa-apa Siti Salma?
Tak ada Doktor.
Ada Siti Hanira?
Tak ada Doktor.
Ada, okey. Semua okey Okey. Ni siapa yang tak bercakap sangat ni? Punita okey tak Punita?
Okay, doctor. But I'm just curious, if we ask a valid question,
Yeah.
is it gonna be like 100% match and supposedly we get the right person for the job, I mean for the position we are looking for, or it might not happen?
Okay, dia macam ni. Dia actually, the whole idea is to mitigate the risk. Remember I told you the theory? The theory, if you ask the right question, then you should get the right person, right? Because you go through the process. But when I say it's a theory, it's 95% accurate. Dia bukan 100% accurate. Chances are you still have that 5% outliers. Maknanya you could still get the wrong person.
Okay.
But of course, then there are a few other things that you need to ask. That means the validity of it tu kita kena test betul tak valid ke tak valid dan sebagainya kan. There are still subjectivity to that. That means you got to ask a lot of the things. So before you ask a lot of this question, what are the parameters macam saya kata tadi, you nak test on dia punya experience, ethics, dia punya dan sebagainya kan. So my question is that why is it 4? Why is it not 5 different variables ataupun 7 different variables? So you need to justify that. So what I'm trying to say is that now HR is not a new territory. It has been in the business for so many years already. So many yalah dah banyak dah. And then they have developed all sort of things. So many research has been done. Then obviously a lot of the things ni kita take for granted because the research was done by somebody earlier than us. So this is where you get the questions yang you rasa selalu sangatlah dengar soalan ni. Kan bila kita Google soalan ni hampir sama keluar. What are the things that you need to ask for somebody to become a teacher, for example? Jadi dia ada suggested question, for example. Lepas tu you tengok website lain, hampir sama lah soalan dia. For example. The chances are these people have done the study and they found out that ini dah lebih kurang macam soalan-soalan yang akan ditanya. Itulah dia contohnya. Okay. Alright. Okay, it's about 10:20. Boleh, can we take a 10 minutes break? Nak toilet break ke, nak minum air ke, boleh?
Boleh Dok, boleh.
Okay, boleh.
Okay dah.
Okay 10:30
Kena sikit.
Okay.
Okay, bye. See you then. Hello. Dah semua orang balik dah ke?
Ada doktor.
Ada ya? Okay, okay. Alright.
Ada doktor.
Okay. Ya. Hmm. Let me check. Double check. Tadi kita dah tengok the validity of the questions, and then kita dah tengok okay, how do we test the people working dan sebagainya, what test to be used, kita dah tengok dah. Okay. Tadi kan bila saya kata bila you nak check the validity dan sebagainya, kita kena buat satu pilot testing kan. Okay, pilot testing ni is very important. Ya, bila kita buat pilot testing tu baru kita tahu the question yang kita tanya tu valid ke tak valid. Itu yang pentingnya. Itu yang tadi we have to test the questions. Kan kata kita boleh tanya je apa-apa soalan. We have to test the questions and see whether this question makes sense ke. Dia dah test the validity dan baru kita boleh tanya soalan. Kalau tidak nanti soalan yang kita tanya tu they are not the valid question for the positions. Okay. Okay, Daniel, ada soalan nak tanya, Daniel? Are you alright? Daniel tak masuk lagi. Okay. Right. Okay. Alright. Now the next question. How do you check the background of the candidates? Anybody can give some ideas? How do you do it in your workplace? How do you check the background of the candidates?
Doktor, kita outsource.
Okay. You outsource.
Third party.
Okay. Okay. That is one of the ways. Okay. Assuming you outsource, try to think, what do they do?
Okay, so they do the past experience history.
Macam mana dia buat? Macam mana dia buat?
Macam mana dia buat? I mean the third party doing. Of course, they request for the candidate to sign on the consent.
Okay. Yeah, that's what you usually do kan. Nanti dia akan tanya bila you nak sign kat bawah. You give consent for us to ask from other parties about you punya apa ni kan, betul tak?
Yeah, betul. And then to share the CV,
what if the
and then
say no?
the IC and then the slip.
What if the candidate say no?
The candidate say no because we must make them understand this is part of the policy, our company policy. So we should be able to explain to them.
Okay, then why do you have this question where would you give consent? Dia tak biasanya dalam soalan tu dia tak kata it's our policy to ni. Dia akan bagi you choice sebenarnya. Did you give consent to us to check your apa ni, kata talk to your current employer ke past employers kan? Selalu dia tanya gitu kan. Dia jarang ada kata it's our policy to do that. Jadi dia tidak tanya you that question.
Apart from that, we do have a declaration form, doctor, which is the candidate need to do a declaration in terms of their for the past experience, their current package, and then at the same time we did ask them about their agreement lah to undergo for the next background check.
Itu kalau you ada that policy. Tapi ada juga yang company yang tanya question yang seperti yang saya kata tadi kan. Dia kata, would you give consent to us to check your apa tu, to talk to your current employers dan sebagainya kan? Ada tak? Have you seen those kind of questions before? Ataupun anybody else? Ada tak pernah nampak that kind of question where they ask you the consent, then you tick. Yang the past boleh, yang current tak boleh. Sebab kalau you tick on the current boleh, sekarang your current employee tahu lah you pergi interview kan?
Betul tu.
Kan, jadi you takkan nak tick tu, for example. So macam mana orang tu nak check? Is there any other way that they can check? Without actually asking for the permission to ask. Ada tak cara-cara yang
LinkedIn, doctor? LinkedIn ke social
So
media?
meaning that, okay, we did mention the with employer, but only for the past 7 years.
Okay. So, I nak tanya. Katakanlah candidate kata, I don't give consent. Okay. Tadi Inzai kata, kita check LinkedIn. Okay. Fine. Dalam LinkedIn, everybody will get your consultant to write for them. So, they will write all the great things about themselves. Okay. So, how do we know that those things are correct? Ataupun those things boleh pakai ataupun macam mana kita nak tahu? Jadi betul lah outsource tu betul. Sekarang ni assuming that you are the third party yang buat outsourcing tu, apa you buat? Why I ask this question is that it's the same expectation. If you were to do it, then you would do it this way, just like what the third party would do it lah. Kan, for example. This has something to do with the case study yang saya bagi tadi. That's why we go back to the case study.
Lepas kita dah check background dia, mungkin kat situlah kita boleh validate dengan question-question dekat dalam interview.
Ya, okay. This is the question yang you akan jadi unstructured tadi kan?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Jadi unstructured ni sebenarnya dia based on the themes. Jadi specific themes. Mungkin you ada structured question and then after that, can you elaborate further? For example, ini yang banyak berlaku kan? Then they will try to justify and things like that. Actually, when I was studying last time, masa saya buat PhD dulu, there are so many foreigners in England masa tu. Many of these people actually spend time to prepare themselves for the interviews. So they actually go for the exercises. Dia pergi jumpa counselor, so they go through set of questions to ask and how to behave in interviews dan sebagainya. So most of these people spend a lot of time going through this process because one, they are foreigners and then they want to get job in England, for example. So they believe that they have to do harder than the locals, for example. So they actually can prepare themselves to perform well in the interviews. Betul? Would you agree with me, Kalai?
Yes, Prof. Agree.
Okay. Tak bolehlah jawab agree je. Kenalah bagi reason. Jadi kalau tak jawab pendek agree atau tak agree. Tak boleh begitu. Kita kena bagi reason. Why we agree, why we don't agree. Ya, Kalai. Yes, Kalai?
Wait, Prof.
Okay, tak apa. Sementara kita tunggu Kalai. Maybe somebody else wants to answer that question. Okay, Farhana. Farhana, want to answer the question, Farhana?
Sorry, Prof. No. Because saya baru masuk. Ada hal kerja. Baru balik.
Okay. What about Hanif? Hanif dah lama senyap dah, Hanif?
Itu tu.
Adakah apa-apa yang ni?
Apa balik dia question lupa dah.
Siapa boleh cerita balik apa soalan dia?
Soalan dia tanya, if you prepared for interview, is it good for the candidate ataupun tidak? Macam tu lah lebih kurang tu.
Dia macam ni, soalan dia begini. People can prepare for the interview. Itu yang siapa tu cakap tadi, yang siapa ni kata Punita, they go through a round of dia macam training. So they are very good when it comes to interview. But it doesn't really mean that they are the right candidate for you. Sebab tu bila kita kata outsourcing dan sebagainya, a lot of the people will go through this process knowing that sometimes they know what questions these people will ask. You will know 95% these are the questions they ask. This is how you should react. Once the questions tanya macam ni jawab. You kena tengok dia punya body reaction. Apa jawapan yang dia nak, itu yang you nak kena bagi. Some people are very good at this. And it doesn't really mean that they're very good in the actual work, whether they are the right person or not. Itu soalan saya ni. Macam mana kita nak menangani masalah ni, Manif?
Dia macam exam lah kan, some people excel in exam tapi in real life dia tak berapa.
Betul, this is correct. Because esok nak exam, malam ni aku belajar sampai gila-gila kan. Lepas tu dapat A. Lepas tu 2 minggu lagi cikgu pergi tanya, dah terlupa lah. Betul tak?
I think this is the part where the unstructured process nak kena masuk. Kena bagi curveball. Kan, something yang take him out of his preparation tu.
Ini yang nak kasih soalan terkejut macam Cik Rosihan cakap tadi dah.
Itulah.
Okay.
Yang prof tadi tu apa yang
Tapi the problem is, I tell you something, the issue here is that these people are well prepared. Meaning to say that they have gone through the experience. Kalau you tanya macam ni jawab. Kalau tak tahu pun ada cara kentong dia dan sebagainya. These people are very good. That's why I told you, they are well trained. They go and see the consultant. They go to rounds of interviews, and after that they train. So chances are, dia pusing macam mana pun dia boleh jawab lah. The issue kat sini lah, kita ni nak ambil orang based on interview ke based on apa dia sebenarnya?
Maybe kena tambah sikit lagi kriteria dekat situ. Bukan kriteria, resource source kita tu mungkin dekat dalam apa interview nanti kita ada minta referee.
Okay, yes, correct. This is where I go back to yang Nadia cakap tadi, kita outsource benda ni, right? So bila dia outsource, dia check dia punya background dan sebagainya, dia pergi tanya dengan external parties, which is the third, which are all the companies yang you probably have worked for lah in the last 7 years, katakan. 3-4 company, I give a call. Right, now, it's a person call. And then dia kata, tak bagus lah candidate tu. So what do you do with that? Dia tanya lah, kenapa tak bagus? Dia pun cerita-cerita, tak bagus. Okay, that's why the person left. Okay, so what do you do with that? Have you been in a situation where you find the candidate to be very good, but when you do the reference, the answer was not convincing? Ada tak?
Doktor, macam mana? Macam mana dia boleh jadi? Kalau answers are good, the person is good, macam mana answers dia tak convincing?
Kan, jawapan dia convincing. Tapi bila kita cross check dengan dia punya ex-employees, dia punya jawapan adalah tidak berapa merangsangkan.
I see. Background check doesn't tally with the answers.
Bukan, dia tak ada kena-mengena. Maknanya kan, bila you check dengan answer dia, apa you tanya semua dia boleh jawab. Tak ada masalah, memang tip top. Tapi bila you check dengan apa ni, you find a lot of things yang macam mungkin inaccurate. Mungkin dia tak buat benda ni tapi dia claim dia buat benda ni, ataupun a few other things lah you check. During the interview, the person sounds very jovial, but actually bila you tanya actually dia kata, this person is very introvert. For example, those kind of things. Disciplinary cases, Nadia kata pula. So macam mana kita nak, apa kita buat bila kita dapat this sort of things? Ada dua contradicting punya ni. What do we do? Anybody in that position? Francis?
Yeah, I think it's good to clarify with the candidate because we don't understand the situation at that time when it happened. So normally I will clarify the candidate. If I find the candidate is very good and I find that reference check wasn't consistent, I will clarify.
But you do the reference check. You usually do the reference check after the interview, right?
Correct. And then I will come back to the candidate and clarify if I wanted to give the candidate a second chance. Because I want to understand why is there inconsistency, and his explanation is acceptable, then we can accept it. Yeah, but it's good to clarify. Yes.
Okay, so you believe clarification is important. Okay, Cik Rosihan, I think you wanted to answer something there somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to what Francis said, and I would do cross checking juga. Kita dengan referee ni pun kita kena pandai interview juga.
Correct.
Yeah.
Soalan dia actually is the same. Is it a valid question that you ask? Tapi kadang-kadang bila you check dengan referee ni memang tak suka dia. Ada personality clash lah sebagainya kan, betul tak?
Betul. And I think I think sometimes referee punya candidate puts the referee and I think they're surprised juga what the referee says, they think it's positive all the time, but it's not. But I think cross checking is important, and also I would rely also on finding out someone to cross check who worked in the organization before to concur. Yeah.
Okay, say for example, okay, you have done those things. Okay, you macam Presiden cakap, okay, kita ada mix punya answers lah. The candidate itself present as a very good proposal to us lah. Tetapi bila kita cross check dengan referee ke ataupun bukan dengan referee, mungkin referee pun kawan-kawan dia katakan okay, no problem, everything is good. Tetapi bila kita check dengan ex-employees dia, not so good. Ada two different set of answers lah. So now we are been given an issue here. How do we actually solve it? So Francis said, I will go back to the candidate and I will just ask questions. I believe you might ask question ni bukanlah direct questions kan. Maybe you menggunakan indication that a little bit tricky in such a way you want the person to don't actually feel that you actually have done the cross check, but maybe you give scenario and see how this person responds to it, and then from there maybe you evaluate. Okay, I think that is a good choice. Macam Cik Rosian kata, maybe I'll take some third party punya view, somebody who's been in that situation, bukan HR ke katakan sebagainya, then we try to get some information. Okay, maybe it's also is a very good way of doing things. Maybe this one berbaloi kalau kata position tu position yang tinggi, very hard, very important, very senior position where you need to have so many agreement lah. Maknanya you want a more consistent answers lah kan. Maybe you cannot get 100%. Maybe kalau you dapat 7 pun 10 pun okay, because you cannot get everybody to like you, for example. Yeah? So maybe you have to use a certain mechanism before you make a decision whether this is a good candidate or not. Yeah? Ada tak siapa-siapa lagi who has been in a similar situation where you actually do a very thorough checking? Ada tak? Yohanis ada Yohanis?
Kita ada buat the background checking tu, Prof.
Tak dengar.
Ada, kita memang buat the detail background checking tu.
Okay,
tapi
so
saya rasa jarang-jarang lah ada kalau misalnya the good candidate and then the referee cakap dia bad. Jarang-jarang lah.
Jarang lah. Okay, jarang. Usually
Jarang lah.
usually the referee ni candidate pun dia akan check juga dengan referee kan, selalunya lah. Okay, so
counting lah, ada counting.
Sudah counting, correct. But now the issue is that you get a good response from the referee, but my question is that you did not get a good response from ex-employee.
Selalunya memang kalau kita minta referee tu, kita minta ex-employee. Ada dua type, ex-employee dengan yang personal tu kan. Tapi the weightage tu memang dekat ex-employee lah. Kalau dekat ex-employee tu biasanya kalau bad tu kita kena tanya juga bad dari segi apa. Sebabnya it might be disciplinary, it might be sebab at that place mungkin kita pun tak boleh bias jugalah kan. Kadang-kadang memang tempat yang the employee yang the ex-employee tu bad juga. That's why tadi macam siapa cakap tu, kita clarify juga dengan candidate. Biasanya.
Okay, look at the questions that people asked in the bila isi the forms. Look at the questions. Put in the referees, these people must be your ex-employee and tell us how long you have known. The first thing the candidate will say, I will give somebody that will give a good answer. Chances are they will give somebody yang I dah kenal lama dah, 30 tahun yang lepas, 20 tahun yang lepas.
Kita akan bagi dalam seberapa year tu, setiap tu kita akan call. Bukannya just 1 or 2. Macam 7 years I think. So kalau dia ada 3 employee, 3 employer, 3 ex-employer, 3 ex-employer tu yang kita call.
Okay, true. Okay, this is if you call the employees, the ex-employees, you will do that. But what I'm saying is that when you put in the referee, nama letak dalam referee tu, you letak yang 30 tahun lepas, masa dia mula-mula jadi eksekutif. Right? As compared to the last 5 years when they actually holding a higher position. You think that it's two different things? Bila soalan yang ditanya tu tidak kena. Tak valid sebenarnya soalan tu. Bila dia kata put in the name of employees and tell us how long do you know this referee, for example. So kebanyakan orang akan letak nombor yang panjang jauh nak menunjukkan person really knows me lah, for example.
Lalu kita letak tak yang lama tu kita tak ambil lah.
So what I'm trying to say is that
tak relevan dah.
What I'm trying to say is that now you see that it's irrelevant, but when you look at the questions yang ada dalam form tu, sebenarnya banyak soalan yang tak berapa relevan dalam tu. Yang dia berjela-jela dia tanya tu sebenarnya tak banyak yang relevan. Sebab tu saya tanya soalan, you ask the right questions. Kan? You kata, okay, list down all the jobs that you have done. Nak tanya, are they relevant? 30 years ago, you were an executive in ataupun buat kerja yang tak ada relevant. Is it relevant? Why did you ask this question? Ataupun yang tadi yang saya bagi contoh, they give the referee that yang you kenal, dia bagi 30 tahun lepas, 25 tahun lepas. Dia kerja sebagai at the entry level. Sekarang ni dia minta jawatan yang tinggi. Yang sebenarnya skill sets dia berbeza. In the first class we studied, kata kerja pun berbeza. Kata kerja eksekutif ialah doers. Kata kerja director adalah directing. Two different skill sets. You might be a good doer, but a lousy director, for example.
Yes.
Betul tak?
Betul.
That's why at the very beginning of the class, I asked you this question. The questions you ask valid. Macam mana you nak test the question whether you are valid? That was the question. Now you see, when you go through this process, there are so many flaws sebenarnya yang menyebabkan bila you tanya soalan-soalan tu dia jadi soalan-soalan yang tidak relevan ataupun you think they are relevant but they actually lead to the decision yang you rasa you buat betul tapi sebenarnya you buat benda yang tak berapa betul. I'm not saying all the questions are wrong, but you need to know why you ask this question. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm also preparing you for you punya research dan sebagainya because bila you tanya soalan-soalan ni, then you realize when you go to university, you belajar dekat university, sebenarnya the purpose of going to university, remember I said at the master's level, is assessment, evaluation and synthesis. Jadi kita buat assessment, dia mesti ada pengukur. Kalau the measurement is not accurate, the measurement tool it cannot be replicated, tested against. That means the measurement is not accurate. When the measurement is not accurate, jadi jawapan dia lari. Now, when you go and do this kind of things at the universities, kita tak naklah banyak sangat teori, tetapi kita kena tahu sedikit teori. Yeah? So that's why bila you kata you buat project paper you, then every section of the question will be asked. Tapi sedangkan bila you bekerja, dia tidak lalukan benda proses tu. Kita tak naklah nampak sangat stringent, tetapi the questions that you ask must be relevant. And how did you know that the questions are relevant? You check the validity. Sebab tu saya kata tadi, you kena tahu apa tu valid dan apa tu tak valid. Doesn't mean so many times when I look at the questions yang people tanya, sebenarnya kadang-kadang tak valid langsung soalan-soalan yang dia tanya. Yang tak ada kena-mengena ataupun dia lepas kali dia akan memenuhkan you punya database. Kalau you kata you letak dalam sistem, dia akan memenuhkan database. And actually, what's the purpose? And in fact, when there are too many data yang you simpan, you can even cloud you punya decision making because you are asking not the right questions or not the valid questions. Okay, do you agree with me? Now, siapa ni? Kalai. Kalai ada? Atau Syaril? Do you agree with Syaril?
Agree, sir.
Okay.
But since the questions for the interview has been gone through the validity check, there should be a proper, relevant questions. So I think I don't see any issue.
Yeah, okay. So if you go to the validity test tu sebenarnya dia sepatutnya tidak ada isu lah. Tetapi as you know, when you go through the validity test, dia maknanya kata dia macam teori. So you can get 95% accurate, but there is still outliers yang akan menunjukkan sebenarnya ada tendency that you still dapat kandidat yang salah.
Yeah, I agree with you. But
ini yang dipanggil mitigating the risk.
But how come we can get 100% perfect good candidate? There will be an error somewhere. So then we must strive for, say, what is our cutoff mark? Say 70%, 80%, 90%?
Sebab tu bila kita belajar apa-apa, there are a few elements that you need to check into, you need to take into consideration. One of them is risk mitigation. Bila ada risk mitigation dia, then you can check the critical success factors dia. So bila you tahu the critical success factors, then these are the variables yang sebenarnya you need to check. So bila you dah tahu variable yang nak check, then you can test the questions, then you check dalam kelompok alpha dia. So bila you dah check dalam kelompok alpha, then you know this is a valid question. So proses itu panjang sebenarnya. Okay, proses dia panjang dan daripada situ, then only you get you dah mitigate the risk lah. Then to the best of my knowledge, I've taken into consideration of all the risks involved. Dan selalunya saya tengok dalam practicalities dalam HR, benda ni tidak diguna pakai. Sebab selalunya apa yang diguna pakai adalah dia just take something from the shelf yang sebenarnya other person have done the thinking for you. Sebenarnya setiap satu organisation atau setiap satu position tu risk assessment dia berbeza. Dia tidak boleh kata semua assessment dia sama. Mungkin hampir-hampir sama. Jadi the question is how much risk do you want to take? Not taking into consideration the actual risks. Maknanya you blanket saja. Okay, for this sama je risk dia. Ataupun ialah bila kita nak ambil orang sama saja. Okay? Does it make sense to you? Ya, siapa tanya tu?
Nak tanya boleh sebab saya memang tak di dalam bidang HR lah. So nak tanyalah kan, tadi Prof kata macam nak tahu validnya soalan yang interviewer tanya tu kan?
Yeah, correct.
So untuk yang interviewer ni, siapa yang assess soalan-soalan diorang ni yang diorang ni tanya soalan yang valid untuk candidate? Siapa yang assess? Sebab biasanya macam kami di ground ni as a candidate je lah biasanya. Kadang-kadang kita bila interview, kita akan fikir macam tak valid je soalan ni dengan apa yang sepatutnya post or whatsoever kan. So siapa yang assess interviewer ni yang dia betul-betul ask the right question. Sebab kalau tak ada orang assess, nanti diorang akan kadang-kadang ikut suka diorang juga sampai bila-bila kan. Macam itulah. Macam mana tu?
Actually, I think mungkin tadi ada somebody implied. For example, when you ask different questions, then you get different things. Jadi macam mana pula kita nak memastikan kita ada menggunakan satu pengukur yang accurate ataupun reliable. Jadi different candidate, different question. At the end of the day, you need to make an assessment. Jadi adakah jawapan you based on paling sedap didengar ataupun macam mana? Okay, the question yang Fatin tanya itu valid. Siapa pula yang check? Okay. Siapa pula yang check ni sebenarnya ialah when you are going to employ the person, then you should be the one yang sebenarnya have the final say to what questions you ask. Now, what I'm trying to tell you just now is that I'm trying to assist you in preparing what are the right questions to ask. I do not know what is the right question to ask. These are the thought process. The first thought process, the thought process is that when you ask the question has to be valid. Since this is your company or you are the HR, you can misuse this position by asking whatever question. Itu yang mungkin apa Fatin cakap tadi. But how do we know that this is correct? If you have done it in a very ethical manner, maknanya kata the question has to be valid. Macam mana kita nak tahu soalan itu valid? Dia ada test dia. Now, of course, the way we ask any question is that ataupun we hire a person itu is that we assess the risk dalam tu. Risk ni ialah satu benda yang kita boleh terima, maknanya kita boleh kebaring kalian untuk gagal tu kita nak rendahkan. Jadi we take this measurement supaya kebaran kalian untuk gagal tu rendah ataupun we get the wrong person tu rendah to the minimum. So kalau kita ikut teori, then that means we want to be at least 95% accurate. Sebab tu bila kata you buat hypothesis dan sebagainya, it's at 95% confidence that this variable actually is one of the criteria dalam teori. Okay, itulah dia punya thought process dia. So bila you check dia punya risk assessment, then you can look into the variables. Bila you test bila dalam variables, soalan-soalan you tanya tu, you kena check dengan Combra Alpha. So bila you check dengan Combra Alpha, then you get the set of questions that you should. Even that, you are 95% accurate. Dan dalam Combra Alpha, dia nak 0.7 saja. So that means ada banyak lagi subjectivity yang mungkin sebenarnya tidak berapa accurate. Okay? So the list is that seperti yang kita buat cover dalam the second class kita, more subjective it is, then the less objective it is going to become. In order to have objective punya measurement, then the element of subjectivity must be reduced to the minimum. That's why kita tengok soalan objektif itu, maknanya bila soalan itu structured, kita perlu structured, dan maknanya you akan dapat konsisten punya outcome. Okay? Boleh Fatin?
Boleh.
Okay.
Boleh.
Ni adakah sama ke ni? Tadi I ada tanya tak dia macam Cik Bun? Ada tak? Did I ask you anything?
Dok, saya ada soalan.
Ada,
Tak tahu-
boleh.
Tak tahu keluar topik ke tak ah. But
Ah.
I just want to know your opinion and view on psychographic test.
Okay.
Masa recruitment.
Okay. I think this is something yang semua banyak orang pakai kan?
Yeah.
Do you think that people actually can belajar daripada sini? That means that you can actually almost prepare kind of answer that you want to give lah. Maknanya kata, if I want to be a tiger, then I know what answer it should be to become a tiger. What do you think? What do you think?
Okay, I'll be frank. No, I've taken this test before, masa employment, and I've never seen the results. And HR never shares with me the results.
They never share with you the result. But I will tell you something.
I disagree with that actually. I think the results should be shared with the candidate lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will tell you something.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Actually, dia tak nak bagi tahu you tu sebenarnya ada banyak sebab. Okay. Satunya ialah recently what I did, I actually asked everybody in my organization to take this test yang disediakan oleh JPA. So what happened is that we call a JPA to educate the people. So the questions to ask, blah, 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 blah. And then we ask everybody to take the exam online. And then after that, seminggu lepas tu, the result came out. Okay. Do you want to guess what is the answers to what is the observation? Dan bila kita tanya balik, dia bergelak. Dia kata it's quite consistent everywhere lah. Kebanyakan tempat jawapan dia very consistent. Can somebody want to try and guess what I meant by that?
The answers are not consistent.
Yes, jawapannya macam ni sebenarnya.
Yeah, most of the time.
Ya sebenarnya betul. Apa yang Francis cakap tu betul. Sebenarnya bila dia buat analisis untuk jawatan-jawatan tinggi, dia punya conclusion is that this person the answer is cannot be trusted. Maknanya kata ya, candidate are so good to dia boleh baca pattern ni tak. Kalau nak ni, I bagi yang ni. Bila nak bagi ni, tapi dia somehow dia akan still kena tangkap. Then the system will give you an answer. This person, maknanya jawapan dia tu, dia cakap macam ni lah. Cannot be trusted. Bila perkataan cannot be trusted, kamu gelak je. Pasal tengok semua staff-staff, semua tu kebanyakannya bos-bos. Bila kita tengok orang kat bawah kan, do you like your job? No. When your boss is not happy, what do you do? I run away. I akan jawab gitu. Kalau bila tanya bos, if your boss is not happy, what do you do? I will go and ask my boss, and then I will make sure that I get it right. Dia jadi soalan yang macam, memang kita nak dengar lah jawapan dia. Bila kita tanya staff yang kat bawah ni, sokongan ni, dia bagi jawapan yang hampir betul. Jadi jawapan dia tu agak konsisten. Rupanya, are you demotivated at work? Yes. Because jawapan dia memang jawapan yang asli lah. Kalau kita tanya, so what I did was after I got this thing, of course I didn't share it with everybody. The privilege is only me and HR. So I brought it to the management team. Then I asked orang nombor 1 dengan nombor 2. I said, you cannot be trusted lah. Most of you people in this room cannot be trusted. So I want your comment. My second man, actually that has to be the case. So when you hold a higher position, usually you need to have a few characters to manage the situation. Because problems given to you, you need to manage it different ways. So technically you need to be a chameleon. Oh, I see. Betul lah jawapan dia tu. Maknanya dia tidak konsisten lah. Chameleon ni dia tak konsisten. Dia kejap ada taring, dia kejap ada biru, kejap ada hijau kan. So what do you think, Cik Rosehan? Do you like my answer?
No, I mean it's very revealing. So the psychographic test ni pun really falls back to validity lah.
Yes.
Of the question, right? Yeah.
Yes. Dia tapi soalan tu mungkin valid such that they actually want to see whether you are a truth person atau tidak sebenarnya. Sebenarnya dia bukan nak tengok sangat you akan behave begini ni. Sebenarnya dia nak tengok at the end of the day, you ni boleh be trusted ke tidak?
But again,
itu saja.
Yeah, but the question is structured. I mean, in your case, you actually sought validation by additional comment.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
in reality, in process, sometimes the candidate has no room to elaborate dia punya answer lah kan.
Ya, betul. Dia pilih saja itu kan. Tapi sebenarnya dia ada satu benda yang I tak tahu lah, mungkin ada juga dulu I found there's a okay, ini lain bukan saya ini, tapi dia more on strength finder. Ada strength finder 2.0 ke. Yang itu dia nak tengok you punya strength. So this one is more on if HR wants to know lah apa the strength ataupun weaknesses of the candidates kan. Dia bukan more on the behavioral dan sebagainya. Tapi what I'm saying is that dia kadang-kadang dia sebenarnya dia nak test benda lain. Dia bukan nak sangat tengok macam dalam kes ni, dia bukan nak sangat tengok how what is actually you punya exact answer. Dia sebenarnya nak tengok consistency saja. So dia nak yang sebenarnya you cerita panjang-panjang tu dia punya report yang tadi kes tu yang last kali tu. Dia tidak boleh kepercayaan dalam bahasa Melayu. Dia keluar macam tu. Kandidat didapati memberi jawapan yang menjurus kepada ketidakkepercayaan. Maknanya cannot be trusted. Okay. Ni siapa ni? Farhan ada cakap apa tadi Farhan? Farhan tak jawab apa-apa. Dishonest. Okay, very interesting. So in order for us to pass, we got to be honest. Is it, doctor? Sorry, I can't unmute. Yeah. Jadi kan kalau honest pula orang susah kan nak jawab kan. Bila honest, alamak dia punya attitude tak bagus lah. Dia ni rupanya tak chameleon lah. Dia ni nanti kalau masuk kan dia tidak boleh ubah suai pula diri dia kan. Very rigid lah. So dia sebut salah pula kan. Kan honest sangat kan tak dapat pula kerja. Kan kalau tak honest rupanya dia nak tangkap. Kan kalau bagi jawapan yang menarik dia tengok tak honest pula kan. Very 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 difficult lah. At the end of the day we should know why we ask these questions. Kadang-kadang you kena tak.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Bukan just my train of thought from your response tadi. So continue from that, between IQ and EQ, if you were to test, right? I would be inclined to say EQ is a little bit more important in a organization than IQ.
I think it depends on the position lah.
Well, my take is that whether you come ini corporate setup lah kan. Kalau you whatever level you come into the organization, you work up towards management. Itu aspiration lah kan semua orang. And so I'm looking at on the management side, not so much on the technical knowledge, engineering itu. Tapi on the management side, I would feel that EQ is a little bit more important than IQ.
Betul. I would agree with you because when I work for Islamic Development Bank, that's why they had their dual track. Panggil dual track. Okay. Now, dekat Malaysia ni memang very consistent. Everybody needs to become on the management side because that's where the money is. That's where you get more paid. When you grow up the ladder and then you become manager, director, that's where you get better salary. So when I was working for Islamic Development Bank, they had a dual track. Satu dipanggil technical track, satu dipanggil manager. Actually, you can go as high as gaji hampir sama, ada sikit saja perbezaan, and you don't have to do the management part. That means you can be very silo. You duduk seorang-seorang dan sebagainya, you become expert lah. So dalam case tu mungkin IQ is very important. Tapi bila you go through the managerial punya track, then of course when you talk about managerial, you need to manage the people. You need to manage the scenarios. You manage a lot of variables dalam tu. So di sini element of EQ tu memainkan peranan yang penting. So that's why I said it depends. Tapi kalau dalam Malaysia ni nampak gayanya kalau you nak naik pangkat, you kena more or less kebanyakan organisation berpihak kepada the management side of it. So that's why semua orang nak buat MBA. The technical people pun nak buat MBA sebab dia nak jadi bos. Kan? Because dia tak percaya bila dia duduk dekat situ, kalau dia selagi tak jadi director of technical ke sebagainya, dia punya gaji tak boleh naik. Dia nak dia terpaksa go through the managerial punya track lah, for example. Okay. Yes, betul Farhan. Inconsistency. Nadia, would you like to comment on that, Nadia?
No, Doctor.
Tak nak komen? Okay, Francis, you want to comment, Francis?
Yeah, just now you mentioned IQ, EQ. I believe now CQ is important because CQ is cultural intelligence, as mentioned in our case study. And nowadays we are doing borderless. And I recall back, we actually employ Irish CEO for Mars before. And if you remember one case,
Yes,
I think he didn't last 6 months, yeah. Because he was very successful in that Irish airline. But I believe that he failed because he didn't understand the cultural intelligence part when he took over. And
Yes.
I think a lot of management didn't work with him. And very interesting, Idris Jala took over and he turned it around, within 3 months. So that is something that I think CQ now is so important because you're going to bring in a lot of foreigners. You're going to work with a lot of foreigners. So when you send someone overseas, for example, to get a corporate client and they fail, I mean, sometimes it could be due to CQ also, which is cultural intelligence. Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you, but there are also counter arguments to that. Okay, if you use the case of Mars Malaysian Airlines, for example, maybe the variable is not just the boss lah, the number one, the CEO tu. Maybe that's not the only variable. Maybe there are a few other variables, but people seems to focus only on that and say that okay, because of that everything falls. Kan? Okay, now let me give you another example. How do you argue on this matter? Maybe I will want Daniel to comment on this matter. Okay, let's talk about the Malaysian football team, right? All this while we have the Malaysian, coach, taking care, and we have achieved, to a certain level, up to a certain mile age lah. Yeah. But then suddenly we get along the way pun, like in the last 20 years, 25 years, we also employ some foreigners dan sebagainya. Sometimes the result was good. Most of the time the result was, not so good lah. So in the end, we go back to Malaysians. We believe that the Malaysian knows better. That's why I said we achieve a certain mileage, especially in the SEA Games, Suzuki Cups, and so on. Maybe the boss knows what I'm talking about. But then the last 2 years, we got Korean coach. And suddenly we moved 30, 30 kan, tangga ke atas. Then suddenly say, hey, how come? So siapa ikut siapa ni sekarang? The players ikut the Korean kan, the Korean ikut the Malaysian punya style. Daniel, would you like to comment on that?
Kalau kita ambil football punya terms tu macam we get the right mentality, right people at the right time lah.
Yang Korea ni dia tak makan nasi lemak. Dia tak makan nasi lemak, dia makan kimchi. So macam mana tu dia nak manage ni? Semua pemain-pemain semua tak makan kimchi pula.
I think because of you can say that she had the same objective kan. Then they understand the cultural
Would you say that football is actually a universal punya language? That means in order to become a good football team, you don't really need to have the subcultures. I mean, you doesn't have to be a African culture, South American culture, European culture. It is about one framework that everybody must follow this. The framework consists of good time management, good training, dia kena ada training yang tentu, good discipline dan sebagainya. Actually, this is a universal language. Just need a good boss to manage this framework so that when we apply it to whatever team, then chances are they are going to do better than they were before that. Ini tidak boleh digunakan pakai dekat airline. Sebab airline ni dia bukan universal language. Boleh ke? What do you think? Ummu Atira? Apa dia tak?
I'm not really sure regarding airlines.
You tak sure airline punya ni? Okay, tak apa. Gui Pocha? You want to try?
I'm not very familiar with the football one, but I think the Korean coach need to adapt himself with the culture of the country. I mean, we can't like follow him to eat kimchi, man. This is my opinion lah.
Okay. Maybe we gonna ask siapa tu lah, Francis lah kan. I just got to know Arsenal is no longer leading the table, betul ke Francis?
Yeah, maybe in 2 hours time we will know whether Arsenal can regain back. They play 1:30. But
Okay.
Aston Villa very tough Aston Villa.
Okay, never mind, Francis. Since you brought the idea, so can you give comments on that? Maybe
I mean the Korean coach doesn't eat nasi lemak, but the Korean coach can make the players eat kimchi. So you know, I maybe the Korean coach understand our culture and be able to like what you know, he can actually rally the team to and motivate them to follow and trust him. So if you look at Mourinho last time, Mourinho was very successful in Spain. But I think when he went to England, he was struggling in terms of the clubs. So it's very funny. You see, they can perform in one country, but they go to another country, suddenly they cannot perform, kan? And it doesn't mean they're a lousy coach. Maybe they couldn't. I believe it's how the culture affects them lah. They couldn't. And some players are not happy in certain country, kan? You hear people like Proba always want to go back to Europe. So, you know, they are happy in Europe. So I think it's very important now that if we go overseas, we must be able to adapt to another culture. We cannot change the culture. So we have to follow the culture in a certain way, kan?
Okay. It's a bit, you see, when you look into that context, now we talk about football just now. I realize when I talk about football, that there's a big chance that some students would not really follow the discussion. But let's talk about something that is closer to us, right? Because we talk about Malaysia Airlines just now, and I think because this one happened many years ago, because some of us already forgot the incident. But then let's talk about the national car, right? The national car has been around for so many years. Suddenly, tiba-tiba Gili datang. Gili datang, then suddenly it has transformed the national car punya perceptions, and you see so many people are now buying the national car. They believe that it's a different set of cars than previous versions when it was, you know, managed by Proton alone. I mean, the Malaysian punya team lah kan. Tapi sekarang ni nampak dia lain. You know, the way they do things are different. And then if you look at the track record of Geely, for example, they have done many successful things, like they got Volvo and many other cars they have done so well. So what is your comment on that? How is that possible then?
Yeah, I believe it's down back to the CEO who is running Proton now. He be able to paint the vision and mission for the entire Proton team. I believe that you know, I believe he did a good job. Seriously, with what the changes he made.
Okay, stop there. Now, when Mourinho came, what was wrong with him? Did he not have a good vision? He said that let's win the European Cup. Let's win all these whatever tournaments that we have, because Mourinho is the kind of guy who wants to have a very big team, right? All superstars he wants to have, and he wants to win all the tournaments, right? Same like Pep Guardiola. Both of them have the same mentality. I don't want to lose any games. You know, they are not like certain managers that say it's our priority. I think these two coaches, for them, is to win everything. You know, they're not willing, so they want to have a big squad, full of stars. So what's wrong? I'm sure they should. Yeah.
With Mourinho, the team doesn't trust him.
So
and
there's
with
an
Pep
element of
Guardiola,
trust.
the team trusts him, and that is the ability of the leader to build the trust first, you know, before they just a saying that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that is leadership, because if the team trusts you, they will follow you. When the team don't trust you, they will be against you, or they follow you not willingly.
Okay,
so yeah.
So what you're saying is that in our first class, one of the elements that was missing, apart from giving you the vision, mission, objective, and so on, there must be an element of trust. This can be achieved.
Yes,
Or
correct.
what is it? Or is it the element of who is driving whoever is driving the car? We must trust the driver. We could have all this vision, mission, Yeah, all these vision mission are all done by consultant, right? Craft nice words for you. They come up with all these nice book for your vision 2020 or strategic direction for the next 20, 30 years and so on, right? They're all crafted by consultants, written in a very nice English and everything, right? So usually what is wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean that after vision, you have to translate to strategies. So then it's the CEO who set the strategy after the vision and mission. And these strategies, are you able to inspire the team to follow, and whether we have the right strategies in place, things like that. Yeah.
What do you think, Farhana? Do you agree to that?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, do you agree to that? Can you give
Yes,
some
yes.
comments?
Yes, yes.
Okay, what is your comments?
I think I agree about that, Prof.
Okay, but what is your comment? Answers cannot be yes or no. I agree, I disagree. But what is your comment? See, you must back your answers with some comments.
Actually, I know idea for that.
Okay. Okay. Never mind. Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
if
Faris.
I may add a bit, maybe just from my point of view, I can see that there is this shared what they call element in all three cases just now. The either the Kim Panggon with the football team, the Irish CEO of our Malaysian Airlines, and also what the leadership of our national car. I think every leader of each organization, each institution, they need to have a very effective communication. I think that is just one aspect that what I can see. Effective communication, regardless of the challenges in different cultures or whatever, but effective communication does affect the performance of your team, of your organization.
Okay. All right. So basically what is important here, as I highlighted by Francis just now, is the leadership, and now you have also brought in another variable, which is actually communication. Okay, so now we have two. So apart from you have the strategic vision and so on. See, now what I want the class to be is that you don't take things for granted, because I will always do this. You see, I give you something, I wanted to see whether is that benda tu ni macam static ke? Ataupun benda ni boleh berubah. Because you see, when you become a boss, you will be having things which are very dynamic. So now you realize that apart from having very good strategy, which is going to be developed by somebody else, there are other elements that you need to take into considerations. Okay, which is the leadership. And when we actually covered the leadership in the first class, because I did ask this question, what's the difference between leaders and managers? You remember the answers? Who answered this question correctly last time? Ioannis, do you remember this question?
Question remember, answer tak remember.
Okay, I asked this question. Anybody remember what's the difference between leaders and managers? Can you remember that in first class we covered this director, manager, doers, semua kan? That's why we covered this thing. Sebenarnya I nak tengok you follow tak the discussion.
Managers do the right things kan? Do things right.
Yes, correct.
Leaders do the right things.
Yes, leaders do the right thing.
Yes.
Managers do things right. Maknanya benda ni, maknanya kalau benda tu kena putih, dia kena jadi, dia kena make sure dah putih lah. Tapi yang leaders tu dia kena fikirkan apa benda tu, rupanya benda tu putih katakan. Actually they play two different roles. So this is what Francis said just now. Even though you have all these things, you still need to have the right leaders to run the show. Kan? right? And then somebody say, okay, you have the right leaders to run the show, but you're not communicating. Okay, communication doesn't have to be through mulut, doesn't have to be sign language. Communication, dia biasanya kita panggil communication channel. It could be in writing, it could be through emails, it could be through podcasting, it could be through YouTube, so many ways. It's actually how you communicate the message. How do you get across the message? Selepas tu, apa dia? Selepas leader, you talk about leaders, you talk about communication, apa dia? What is the most likeliest next step?
Doctor,
Yeah.
I think it's a candidate. For football is a players must have the capable players.
Okay, you already bring in you already bring all the peoples in there. You get the people above. So we have the leaders, we have the communication. Then apa the next one yang biasa kita buat?
Kita kena apa tu, kan sometimes manager is very demanding kan. And then kita kena achieve the expectation from the managers lah. Like kita kena
So what
adaptive
is the
dengan
word? What is the word? Guna. One word to describe this thing.
Proses ke, Dok?
Okay, process. Yeah, it's a process. Nama term tu ialah enforcement. So enforcement tu lah yang kita letak sebagai KPI dia. So enforcing through KPIs, then there is a punishment, then there is a reward. So kalau you tengok dalam kita punya slides tu, dia akan tunjuk kat belakang tu, it's a performance evaluation. Right? So what I'm trying to tell you here is that all these things that you hear, KPI dan sebagainya, actually they're all aligned to make sure things are achieved. That means you boleh draw KPI, tak ada masalah, tapi tak ada enforcement. So nice to have. Right? Tetapi tak ada enforcement. Sebenarnya dia kena enforcing. Enforcing itu termasuklah disiplin, training. Training kita cover dalam second class kan. Mana nak buat training dan sebagainya. And I told you the statistics, kalau you pergi HRDF, the HRDF people will tell you majority of the company that contributes, they actually do not send their people for training. These are all part of enforcement. Okay, what is enforcement? So how do you enforcing all the things that you plan and you dalam execution you, dia mesti ada enforcement. Okay? Boleh? Boleh tak? Siapa ni?
boleh.
Siapa yang saya tak panggil lagi ni? Farhan dah, Yohanis dah, Nadia dah, Sitiani dah, Khairul dah, Fatin dah. Okay, Salma dah. Okay, boleh ya? Dana boleh ya, Dana?
Boleh.
Okay, Kalimi, do you want to give any comments or any thoughts about that? Ada? Ada Kalimi? Are you there?
Ada Prof.
Okay, do you want to give any comments, any thoughts about that?
For me, I think I have no comment, Prof. I just with this situation.
Okay. Okay. Can I ask somebody to give a summary, a little bit of summary what we have covered daripada pukul 9 tadi sampai sekarang. What is the essence of what we have covered? Anybody want to give a try?
Doc.
Okay, Sharin.
Yeah.
Go.
We discussed about validity test.
Okay.
About questions, whether they are structured or unstructured questions. Then we also discussed about theory, includes ethics, attitudes, and others. Somebody mentioned about Cronbach Alpha Doc.
Cobra Alpha.
Yeah. That's quite new to me. And then we also mentioned about preparation for the interview. Practice questions, are they relevant? And then assessments, whether they are measured accurately. Then the important thing is a validity check. Yeah, validity check. That I think we elaborated a lot on that. And also question about risk alarm. I think the last one was more on the, we talk about all the leaders, like CEOs in mass, football, and then we end here lah. Thank you.
Okay, alright. Siapa lagi nak cuba try?
Doc, maybe if I can summarize that into important elements in selection process.
Okay, okay, selection process, okay. Okay, lagi? Inze, do you want to try, Inze?
Doktor, most of it dah. Tadi sebab kita start daripada interview. So masa interview tu, we have question. So you have to validate the question. After
You must make sure that you
Ah.
must make sure that your questions are valid, right?
Yep,
In the first
ah.
place. But you
When-
also know that when you talk about valid, you talk about the theory. So you are only
betul.
making sure that it is only 95% valid. That means there are still element of tidak valid. So sekiranya you get a wrong candidate, there could be two outcomes. One is that the question you ask is invalid, or the other one is that the question that you ask is valid, but the candidate that you got was just an outlier. It means the 5% that did not fit into the theory. So itu you kena faham. That was the first thing that we covered. Okay, this is the one you mentioned lah. Okay, what is the next thing yang kita faham daripada kelas?
After the validation, then you touches on background check, Doc. So background check tu after you dah interview the candidate, you nak check whether the candidate is talking the truth or not lah. Okay.
So then we question that there are a few mechanism that we do. One part of it is that even the question that you check tu, yang you tanya tu, are they valid or they are not valid kan? Sebab tadi kita tengok banyak sama ada question tu sebenarnya tak valid pun. Jadi sebenarnya bila you go through the background check, adalah salah ataupun tidak accurate. Sebab soalan yang ditanya pun tidak accurate. So we go back to the first thing that we cover in the class, the question has to be valid. Correct? So after we have done the checking, the chances are there could be two outcomes. Dan maknanya kalau usually you do the background checking if you like the candidate. If you don't like the candidate, then you tak payah buat background checking pun kan. Sebab then dia dah tak meet the requirement. So bila you buat the background checking, there could be two answers, right? Satu dia consistent dengan the candidate that you thought who they are. Satu lagi the response might not be good. Then you got to check again. Mungkin through what Francis dengan Cik Rojahan cakap tadi, then you kena cross check dan sebagainya before you make a decision. And of course, the whole idea is to minimize subjectivity in the objective exercise. And the less subjective it is, you minimize the subjective in the elements of objective to get the right candidate, then the better it is. Itu yang kedua kita cover pada. Okay? Dan apa lagi kita cover lepas tu?
Then you did mention about assessment tool, Doc.
Assessment tool must be consistent, correct?
Yep.
If you want to measure siapa yang terpantas di dunia, then if the measurement is 100 meters, then it has to be 100 meters. Dia tak boleh jadi 100 yards ataupun 90 meters. But let me okay, since we talk about that, let me ask you a question. Now, has anybody followed indoor punya competition, some indoors competition? Ada tak? Yang mana sebenarnya dia kadang-kadang dia tak lari 100 meter, dia lari 60 meter saja. Ada tak anybody? Ya, Syaril.
Yeah, I do follow.
You follow? Ini Zulhilmi? Did you follow that as well?
Not really follow, but I know about it.
You know about that. Why is it 60 meters? Can you give a idea why? Kenapa dia buat 60 meter, dia tak buat 100 meter? Okey lah, mungkin dia punya gelanggang tu tak cukup panjang kan? Okey lah, dia nak jimat duit. Okay. Selain daripada tu, apa lagi?
The environment, temperature.
Dia letak dalam tutup tu, okey lah. So dia nak kawal angin dan sebagainya. Okay. What else? Apa yang jawapan yang lebih tepat?
Wind assisted.
Okay, yang ini I nak tanya jawapan ni, I nak tanya. Anybody studied physics in the past? Or with a physics background? Ada tak siapa-siapa yang tahu kenapa 60 meters? Okay. Ada siapa tahu? Tak ada siapa tahu. Ada siapa-siapa tahu? Daniel, you want to try?
Saya ke? Tak.
Yeah.
Fizik tak tahulah, doktor. Tak sure.
Okay. I will tell you. There is a book. They check on the all the apa tu lah record holders lah or in the past daripada JC Owen sampailah zaman Usain Bolt lah and they check. So actually the study was very interesting. Sebenarnya the study would tell you sebenarnya why people run 60 meters. Because after 60 meters it's just velocity saja. Dan dia punya top speed dah turun lah. Jadi sebenarnya dia tak mau tengok yang top speed dah turun. Dia nak tengok bila dia naik saja. That's why they stop at 60 meters. Of all times, runners ni sebenarnya dia punya top speed sampai 60. Lepas 60, dia akan jatuh. But for all the runners except Usain Bolt, okay, bila you pecahkan the 60, bila you pecahkan the 100 meters into every 10 meters tu, dia akan check siapakah the fastest runners in every 10 meters. So Usain Bolt was not the fastest in the first 10. Dia ada lagi banyak lagi orang-orang lain yang they can perform better to the gun. Okay, so if we take that time and kita campur-campur semua, if I'm not mistaken lah, the best time that can be made for 100 meters is somewhere around 9.3 ke begitu. So if they can collect all the best runners of all time with the time frame yang terbaik every 10 punya ni, the time will be somewhere around 9.3 begitulah. So that is not the numbers that we get today. Okay, kenapa Usain Bolt is the fastest runners? Because he can get a top speed at 40, frame yang nombor 4, frame yang nombor 5, dan frame nombor 6. All other runners, they achieve their top speed dekat frame nombor 5 dan nombor 6. That means nombor 5 dengan nombor 6 tu sama. Lepas nombor 6, semua orang jatuh. That means lepas nombor 6, dia punya top speed tu akan semua jatuh, termasuklah Usain Bolt. So actually lepas nombor 6 tu, frame yang ketujuh ke atas tu is velocity. Just like when you lari kan, you lari, lepas tu dia lepas. Lepas tu dia jadi dia jalan saja. Velocity lah. Itulah yang saya maksud. Okay. Alright. So since we touch a little bit on that, then I cerita sikit lah. Apa lagi kita belajar? What else did we cover just now?
Referees can be biased.
Okay, referees can be biased. Referees can be biased. Okay, so we actually talk about what happened just now. We talk about why we need to cross-check. And the issue here is that after we cross-check, then there could be some element of inconsistency. Then, of course, you have to make a decision, a subjective decision in our objective. Okay, so after that, what else did we cover?
The consequences lah, macam dalam case study tu, bila you hire strongly, the consequences on your team performance lah.
Macam ni tak dengar sangat lah, Hanif.
Macam dalam case study yang David Smith tu, you see all the problems, all the consequences of hiring poorly lah.
Okay, so yang itu sebenarnya the subject yang pasal case study itu sebenarnya I nak you relate balik kepada the first three subjects, the first three classes yang kita cover lah. Actually, as I said, there could be so many other things that you can talk about, but I would prefer that you talk about what you have covered in the first three. Vision, mission dia tak berapa clear ke, then it cannot be expired. That cannot aspire the people over there, and then the selection process was not done properly. That's why you get people yang get intimidated during the when they work together. Kan, yang benda-benda tu semua yang kita dah cover, even in the last class kita talk about outsourcing ke dan sebagainya, which kita akan tengok which is a better apa tu. Mungkin dia tak faham. Kalau orang Jepun dia bekerja macam ni. Kalau orang India the Indians are probably working in this kind of manner. So dia tak buat benda-benda tu. If they have outsourced the activities, then perhaps David could say that these are my criterias. I would like to have this. Nanti consultant ni akan tanya, okay, do you prefer your people to work long hours dan sebagainya? Well, it depends, dia kata. Okay, if you talk about this particular continent, because everybody works long hours, then perhaps I want people yang work long hours to be there. So Tanah should not be in India, for example. Tanah should be somewhere else. Kalau dekat Jepun, dia akan buat cara begini, okay, maybe Japanese can work together with the Indians, for example. Because Japanese also like to work long hours. Then maybe you can cluster them together. Mungkin the Europeans like to work together with, say, people from US. Dan apa tu, the guy from Germany tu boleh together dengan, sebab they prefer work-life balance dan sebagainya. Kan? And then mungkin, I don't know, UK is more religious ke dan sebagainya. Then you get the people yang religious working together. Then we can understand on Sunday they are not working, for example. Right? So that aspect pun kita cover juga. Right? Okay, apa lagi aspek yang kita cover lagi? Ada lagi tak? What is it that we cover towards the end tadi? No, Ashima, do you remember what we covered towards the end tadi?
Ingat-ingat. Leadership, communication dengan enforcement.
Okay. So those are three important things. Never mind. As we cover the next two classes, kita ada 6 classes semuanya, then perhaps you will complete what are other considerations. Sebenarnya ada satu lagi consideration tadi. Sebenarnya risk mitigation. Yeah? The risk mitigation tu very important. Setiap elemen yang you buat tu dia kena ada risk mitigation. Even when you do the strategy dan sebagainya, dia ada risk mitigation. You can come out with any mission dan sebagainya. And that is why sometimes all this mission objectives sebagainya, they are not achievable because you don't check against the risk. Bila you tak check dengan the risk tu, then it can be anything under the sun. Sebab itu kita kena be realistic, and that's why we always start with the risk assessment. From the risk assessment, then only you know what are the things that you need to do next. What are the characters, criteria that you need to look into. Macam tadi kalau saya kata, kalau risk assessment ni, it's about what questions to ask, the validity of it, then you check if this is the risk, then these are the potential variables. So you test every of the variables tu guna validity test. Then bila you dah dapat tu, this is the theory. That means factor 1 campur dengan factor 2 campur factor 3, this is a valid punya questions. Dan soalan-soalan tak payah ditanya. Dia tak valid. Dia tak kena mengena dengan the position that we ask. Okay? Alright? Okay. Okay. Ada siapa-siapa nak tanya apa-apa?
Dok, saya nak tanya, Dok, since Dok sebut pasal validity test tu kan.
Ya.
Out of 10 companies in Malaysia kan, Doktor? Daripada 10 tu berapa banyak yang buat validity test of the question? Ini nak tanya opinion je lah.
Saya rasa kebanyakannya tak buat. Because one of it is that they always, when I look at the questions, kebanyakannya mereka akan menggunakan cara ataupun dia tak buat tapi they tend to get it right because dia dah biasa tengok soalan yang sama. Yeah, dia dah biasa tengok soalan yang sama. That means that what they actually done is that they take the best practices, and sometimes they get the consultant to do the job, and actually they pass the responsibilities to other people. But if I were to ask you, don't refer to internet, just ask whatever question that you believe is right. Then I will tell you it's almost the same thing when you are going to do your research paper. So when you do your research paper, then you punya supervisor akan cakap, okay, now your job is to ask questions to your respondent, potential respondent. Pick your questions. Then you can check the question. You can check the question, and then the supervisor dia tengok, dia kata, ya lah soalan ni ada masuk akal juga. Soalan, mana you dapat soalan ni? Dan dia kata, ya, I ada baca-baca, I masuk kata. Ada soalan dia tak masuk akal. At the end dia katanya, did you do a validity test? Oh, tak buat validity test. Put the validity test. first before I do the validity test, of course I need to have some ideas. That means macam mana I nak tahu ideas supaya soalan nak tanya, sebenarnya you kena baca literature reviews. These are the things that done in the past. So in reality, what actually you have done is that you pick question that other people have asked. And this question probably developed by consultant ataupun gone through the validity test. That's why you pick it. Actually itu adalah literature review. Sebenarnya, secara tidak langsung sebenarnya you have already inherited the potential right question. One question here is that you pick a few from everywhere. So bila dia campur dia together, dia jadi assemble the team yang Mourinho nak buat tadi, ataupun all this Galactico nak buat tadi. So does it mean that you ask this question, then it becomes a good question? This is where you need to do validity test. Sebab dia ada soalan-soalan yang dalam tu atau variable dalam tu yang dia tidak kena mengena. Ataupun disebabkan variable yang ini, dia akan affect variable yang lain punya importance. Sebabkan kita masukkan satu pemain yang hebat, jadi pemain lain yang hebat tu tidak nampak hebat ataupun tidak boleh bekerjasama. That's why dia ada test-test dia. Nanti bila you masuk belajar dalam benda ni, you akan tahu dalam validity test tu, dia ada tak influence dia. For example, if you check 5 tests, kata 5 variables you letak, semua variable ni penting. Memang penting. Dalam literature memang kata dia penting. But when you put them together, ada tak satu variable yang affect variable yang lain? Macam mana kita nak handle soalan-soalan tu? Dia ada soalan. Itu yang bila kita tanya in practical ialah you have a structured question and then you ask unstructured question. Now the question is that does that unstructured question affect other structured questions? Okay, I'm so sorry. Today the class it sounds a little bit theoretical dan sebagainya. Tapi I just want to make sure that you have the idea in the thought process of coming up with the questions.
Last question, Doctor. You did mention about pilot test tadi, lepas validity test. So what is the simplest way to do pilot test?
Okay, sebenarnya pilot test is part of the validity test. Okay, so you set the question. Sekarang ni you tak tahu sebenarnya the question that you should be asking. Sebenarnya memang you dah buat, you dah check daripada database dan sebagainya ataupun reference. Kalau dalam academic, you have to look into the literature reviews. Ahmad ask a question on katakan competency. These are the set of questions. Okay, Ali will ask questions on apa tu past experience. Okay, these are the questions. Letaklah katakan ada 50 question menggunakan 5 variables. Satu ialah attitude, satu ialah past experience, satu adalah ethical. So every variable tu ada 10 soalan dalam tu. Letak together. Okay. Now bila you letak together, kita nak check benda tu, kita guna pilot testing. Okay. Bila kita guna pilot testing, then you realize after you have gone through the exercise of validity, menggunakan pilot testing, then only you see that, okay, this variable, kita check dia punya Ghrm alpha, lepas tu kita check dia punya contingency. Maknanya, kalau kita gunakan variable ni, does it affect? Ataupun dia are independent. Okay, sebab kadang-kadang ada satu variable tu dia influence benda yang lain. So, kalau you gagal kat sini, semua yang lain pun you gagal. Is that a good indicator? Maybe it's not a good indicator. So macam mana kita nak pecahkan benda tu? Dia ada teknik-teknik dia. So today we are not going to go through in detail all these techniques. Mungkin saya pun tak perlu ajar you dalam ni. Ini mungkin you akan belajar tempat lain. Tetapi you need to know this is the thought process. Dia kata, lepas ni jangan you duduk kat luar tu, be innocently and say that blindly and say that, you know what, I'm a big boss, I can ask whatever question I like. Maknanya the thought process is not there lah. Okay? Boleh Izin? Dia dah bagi thumbs up dah. Francis? Sini berdebar-debar ni sebenarnya. Dia nak tunggu pukul 1 tu.
1:30.
1:30 tu. Dia dah risau dah. Dia punya catat tu dah telah bertukar tangan dah. Betul?
Anyway, I just want to share with everyone also the psychometric test that was mentioned kan. I believe that is not valid as much and there's a way to overcome it kan. So in case anyone here go for this psychometric test, do not answer agree, neutral or disagree. You have to answer strongly agree or strongly disagree. Because what we found out if you answer the neutral part, they say the decision making tak bagus. So the psychometric test was done by someone. He created an algorithm based on his judgment kan. but it may not be valid for everyone. So when we have come across whereby they say the leadership is not good, not suitable to a leader, but we still employ him, and he turns out to be a good leader. So don't worry so much about the psychometric test.
Okay. For this kita minta komen daripada Cik Rozihan yang come up with the psychometric test. What do you say after you listen to all these comments?
Well, the thing is, I'm not an expert on designing the psychometric test, too. But I do feel that that the testing can work against a candidate. Macam for instance, like Francis said, it and as you explained, kan, it's not conclusive. But the person putting up the question is looking for a certain outcome. The person answering it, there is mismatch sikit. It's different frame of mind, so it can actually set a certain bias from up front.
Yes.
So
yes.
I've always had an issue with the psychometric test ni. But at the same time, it's the only tool you can. I mean, not sure in my limited experience. There's no other tool for testing the motivations and that drives the thought process. And so that's why I think at the end of the day, kena ada hybrid juga. And the danger is even macam referee punya issue ni kan, kita punya sistem ni like you said lah, we need to mitigate the risks and the gaps. Kalau referee tu bagi less than positive punya response pun, it really sets the candidate in a certain light. And then when we cross check pun, kita punya presumption is there's a problematic thing with the candidate, and we're really doing that cross checking from a very negative point of view. So I find that I mean we have all these tools apa semua, but we really must keep a very open mind and unbiased perspective when exercising the selection process and the tools that we have. It's not easy lah.
Okay. Now, this is a good idea. This is a good discussion. That at the end of the day, it looks like this mechanics ni ada dia punya flaw sikit lah dalam tu, ataupun maybe we need to find tweak this thing little bit lah ya. So my question, I want to ask maybe Siti Salma ke Siti Hanira ke, mungkin boleh jawab soalan ni ya. Ataupun yang lain-lain, Punita ke answer, ataupun Kalai ke yang tadi nak jawab belum dapat jawab lagi, maybe they can answer. So what's wrong with the traditional way of doing things where companies usually give you a 3 months punya grace period lah, maknanya 3 months I really want to see you first, I give you 3 months atau 6 months, ataupun dalam government dia bagi 3 tahun lah, government lagi dia ada 3 tahun. So you're gonna behave consistently for the next 3 years. Ataupun dalam private sector 3 months, 6 months. So what's wrong with that? So bila kita habis interview, okay, no problem. Just give the offer letter and then we will see in 6 months. No need to go through the psychometric test, because I know the outcome is that chances are you are gonna lie. Apa seperti yang saya bagi tahu tadi. Daripada semua management, satu orang saja yang answer dia betul. Itu pun dia dekat bawah sekali, entry level. Entry level of management. Rupanya semua bos-bos ni memang chameleon. The characters are chameleon characters lah. So what's wrong with that? Siti Salma atau Siti Hanira? Ada komen tak? Ada lagi ke dah tidur nanti? Okay, how about Gui Po Chen? Do you want to answer that? Tak ada. Okay. Alai, you want to answer that? Alai pun dah tak ada dah. Farhan, you want to answer that, Farhan? Farhan pun dah tak ada dah. Okay. Let's try siapa yang lain ni lagi. Atia ada lagi, Atia? Tak ada dah. Okey, siapa lagi yang ada dalam ni?
Saya.
Ada.
Yang tak ada ni kita kena start tolak markah lah rasanya. Mungkin they just log in and then tak ada. Because the thing is that they are not providing adding value to the discussion. Okay, siapa yang ada? Maybe you want to try. So what is it that you look at the end of the day? So what's wrong with the traditional method where you actually give them the time for, to prove themselves, say over 3 months or 6 months ataupun over 3 years? What's wrong with that? Siapa nak jawab tadi? Is it?
Yeah, Prof. I don't think it's wrong with the method that you give probation to the candidate. Sebab giving them probation, right? It's like watching them whether you are telling the truth or not. I mean, maksudnya, so people can just tipu you for a short time of period. For longer time of period, you tak boleh nak berlakon dah, So that's why there's a long term of probation tu. Ini my opinion lah. So if anything were to happen during that 3 months, employer boleh not to hire them lah. Ini my opinion lah.
Okay, so that means that the traditional method still works lah. The question is that whether it's 3 months is a good time, or 6 months is a good time, or 3 years is a good time lah. So it's subjective. So government, since dia nak bayar pension, dia kata I take 3 years lah.
Not
So
for
whether
the
so you take a long run lah, you take a marathon before I decide whether I want to keep you or not. Betul lah. So companies pula kata, rasanya kalau you nak tunggu 3 tahun, you pun sudah jalan lah. Tapi kalau gitu baik kita bagi kontrak 3 tahun saja kan. So after 3 years most likely pun you'll be gone somewhere else. So kita actually there is no right answers to that. But of course it all depends on how good the mechanism is for you to do your enforcement. You punya bila kita buat whatever, when we do the implementation there must be an enforcement. Bila kata enforcement ni bukan enforcement pergi tangkap orang, bukan because the word enforcement ni selalu refer to pergi tangkap orang, bukan. Dia sebenarnya enforcing what is the procedures ataupun the gate for you to collect the answers that you're looking for lah. Itulah maksud dia sebenarnya. Yeah, okay. All right. So it's
one more.
Yes,
I think the whole process.
Yeah.
When it comes to mitigation, legal process, we do have documents and all that to support. The new process has all the what they call a validity test. The questions are checked and all that. We have everything documented, and when it comes to legal case, we can defend ourselves.
Coach hari ni lepas balik dia panggil semua HR. What question do you ask? I want to see the validity test. Kasih I Komra Alpha. Senang habis cerita Syaril Betul Syaril?
Ya, betul.
Habis lah. Isnin semua kena balon lah. Betul Syaril?
Betul.
Cik Rozian, betul ke? Isnin habis lah HR kena balon. Betul ke?
Tak juga. Saya suka HR saya. Dia banyak tolong.
You know HR. I had to stay on until 12 o'clock on a Saturday night when Liverpool were trashing this Crystal Palace and sebagainya. And then finally I got information. So I'm going to do my assignment, right? So before I do my assignment, I want to check whether I'm going to get it correct. So HR, do your work first. Okay, tunjuk I macam mana validity, macam mana you kira. Dah gitu kan?
Doctor, I don't face any HR since I'm not employed.
Tapi HR ni, Dok, masa muda HR ni lawan tu.
Oh, lawan
bila dah lama sikit baru jadi kawan.
Oh. Okay. Okay, Hanif, anything? Hanif ni rasanya hari ni dia tak berapa happy sangat. Hanif ni dia, kenapa Hanif tak berapa happy sangat hari ni Hanif? Selalunya dia yang ceria.
Hari ni dia macam lemah sikit.
Apa salah? Saya pun pelik. Kalau tak dia asyik nak angkat tangan. At least kita tahulah dia kena steady sikit sebab dia nak tunggu 1.5. Kan?
Just want to share an anecdote lah. it happens before. Sometimes it pays lah to give chance to people yang nampak macam not really good on paper ni.
Yeah, yeah.
Because as it happens before in previous employment, the hiring manager tu, out of the few candidate yang dia memang ambil seorang yang below expectation. Dia cakap dia nak bagi chance, nak eksperimen tau. So what happened is the candidate, despite dia punya lower qualification, he make it up with dia punya attitude lah, because he knows he's not the best, so he give more effort.
Okay, okay. I can agree to that sebenarnya Hanif, tapi sebenarnya tetapi kalau say for example, if you were go through the board of directors and sebagainya, bukan chances tidak boleh diberi, tetapi dia akan tanya the thought process behind it. So the question that they will ask is that, does this job actually requires that kind of qualification? Dan dia akan tanya that kind of question. Maybe you punya kriteria tu tak betul sebenarnya. Maknanya kriteria you memilih itu tidak betul, di mana sebenarnya qualification does not play a very big role. In fact, there are so many things in life sebenarnya orang tak payah pergi universiti. Dulu ramai orang tak pergi universiti pun. Kan? Jadi orang yang berjaya juga. Betul tak? Because there are certain jobs sebenarnya doesn't require you to go to universities. Because you tend to do things yang even I told you last time when I was working in the UK, kan? Orang yang kerja sebagai postman. Sorry, when I say postman doesn't mean orang pergi deliver surat ke rumah-rumah. Postman are people who works in the post office. Sama ada sorting ke ataupun dekat cashier ke dan sebagainya tu, they are all postmen, but they work in the post office. Kita kat Malaysia ni bila kita kata postman, orang yang deliver surat ke rumah-rumah tu, itu bukan Dan bila you kerja dalam structure yang begini, dia sebenarnya tidak memerlukan orang yang ada qualification. Dia mungkin level-level O level ataupun SPM level, as long as they want to put in the hours and then they do repetitive work every day and then they do long hours, they can get salary much higher than managers punya salary. Sebab managers tak buat overtime. Kan? Dia ni dah lah ambil unsociable hours. Unsociable hours tu adalah kerja malam. 10 malam clock in sampai pukul 6. That means they get paid higher. Lepas tu sambung pula lagi daripada pukul 6 tu disambung sampai ke 10. So setiap hari dia ambil 4 jam ekstra pula lagi. Kan? And then Saturday Sunday pun dia datang pula lagi. Kan? Sorry, dia orang cuti 1 kali seminggu. Instead of cuti tu dia ambil pula lagi. Sama juga dengan certain position seperti dekat hospital. Bila you become a nurse, dekat UK you kerja 37.5 jam saja satu minggu, tapi you can do banks. Banks tu that means you come in as a what you call it, as a overtime lah. So you can do banks as much as sampai 70 hours. 2 kali ganda daripada apa yang you wajib buat. And you can earn a lot of more money and you can drive nice cars and things like that as long as you like to work, you want to put in the hours. Right?
No, something about apa Hani cakap it struck me. Kita when we do all these systems of selection ni, and is to find the right candidate, right? Tapi Hani raised something tadi pasal potential. I don't know. I mean, kawan-kawan sini banyak kawan-kawan HR kan, really on operation side. But am I off to think that our selection process right now is inadequate to uncover potential, but more on trying to find on the spot who is right fit.
Ini macam ni lah, Cik Rojan. I think it goes back to the validity of you punya question to ask, and then you should know what kind of things you ask. That's why I said, sebenarnya bila kita nak letak terlalu banyak sangat teori dalam MBA punya classes ni, dia akan jadi, nanti dia tak jadi best. Jadi kita letak selit sikit-sikit saja. But you need to have that thought process. We need to say that I got to challenge back this question about hiring people. If we do the right thing, if we get the right candidate, what's wrong in our selection process? Did we ask the right question? What was the right? Did we really know? Do we really know? Are these the criteria for these particular jobs? So ada banyak lagi soalan yang perlu ditanya. Yang mana you must actually have the right thought process. Yeah. So I don't have the answer because you need to do research, and some of you people ask the question, is this a good research? Dan sebagainya. Now I'm giving you 5-6 different questions that you can do research. Easily, these are the things that gives you an opportunity to improvise your HR department. Yeah, that's why one of the things that was asked recently by one of the board members about one of the companies that I used to work in the past. I said a very simple thing. A lot of the issues in the company, when it doesn't work very well, you got to check, because that is where you develop the people. This is where the issue of organization behavior starts. Kalau kita belajar HR ni sebenarnya di bawah tajuk organization behavior sebenarnya. So actually HR ni memang they cover organization.
Just an anecdote about why I was asking that. There was one instance in the past. I had two teams working at the same time. So we had to do selection for both teams lah.
Okay.
One team two was selected based on past achievement, track record, qualifications. I would say team A was the star team lah. For whatever aspect you see in terms of past achievement, because that's all you have, right? When you
Yes.
interview the customer. So this was the star team, and then at the same time, I had team Project B, made up of people who did not have this track record as sterling as the first team though. After a year, the results from the second team too was so much better. And I would say almost team A to close to failure with the result. But here was my thing. I did not choose team B. Team B was argued very strongly with me on the selection by the team leader, and who fought for all these team members. And I took a risk. Okay, fine. If he believes in it, so this is when I would say my own selection based on data, existing data, had failed. It failed. Yeah. The one of the problem was ni lah. Star players together do not necessarily make a star team lah. That was my.
Can I just stop you there before you actually bagi bola tanggung kepada beberapa pemain-pemain lain yang nak membantai satu pasukan tu yang belanjanya banyak tetapi kedudukannya agak kurang memuaskan.
Yeah. So this was I thought we had the selection process, all the questions, all the interview sessions, but it failed when put pitch against A and B.
Yes, correct. Actually betul lah. Dia banyak lagi benda. Tapi at the end of the day, I like to look at it. Sebab bila you cerita pasal company and so on, not many company would like to share with you dia punya case studies, especially Malaysian companies. I remember when I was working for MIDA in the past, when I was invited by Asian Institute of Finance, AIF, because they actually give grants to researcher, anybody who wants to do research in finance, for example. So many of these people actually won the grant and dapat berapa 10,000 ke, tak ingat lah berapa, because they wanted to do a case study about bank rakyat lah, mana tu dan sebagainya. They have a very nice proposal, but we had to withdraw the sponsorship because they couldn't do the case study. Bila dia pergi kepada tempat-tempat yang dia nak buat case study, companies in Malaysia are quite reluctant to allow you to do case study. Dia tak nak. Dia rasa benda tu rahsia. Dia rasa kalau dia publish memalukan, the competitors will take advantage. Dia tak sama macam kata many other developed countries where they actually like people to do case studies on them. Because they believe that maybe I can also learn. Okay, never mind. If people discover bad things about me, it can benefit other organization, then I can learn from that. Jadi dia ada good knowledge sharing dan sebagainya. So we have not gone to that level. And apa yang you mentioned just now is a very good case studies. Why people behave like this and why it shouldn't be like that. Maybe it's a wrong parameters that you're looking at, because this group of nice people yang ada all these sort of things, sebenarnya kita tak perlu that skill set, for example. Right? That's not the right skill set. Sebenarnya skill set dia sebenarnya benda tu penting, tapi mungkin ada elemen lagi penting, which is the leader, for example, because we need a strong leader to galvanize the team. Okay, the team tu macam apa kata tadi Hanif kata, kita bagi je kepada orang yang tak ada, because we have a very good leader that inspired, because the criteria is not actually your past qualifications or your past experience, somebody who are willing to learn. because that's actually the criteria. Tetapi because you put in the wrong criteria, you say mesti first class, mesti ada 10 tahun working experience in this. It doesn't mean that okay, nice to have, but that's not the right criteria for that particular position. Itu pada pandangan saya. Okay, it's already 12:15, 12:11. I need to conclude the class lah. Ada siapa-siapa kalau tak dipandankan setengah tu yang dah tertidur tapi dia masih on lagi, jadi dia pun nak tidur secara official lah. Dia tak siapa-siapa nak have a final say. Kalau tak cakap ni esok tak boleh tidur.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it. Tak ada lagi. Anybody who wants to say anything? Tak ada ya. Okay. Remember, when you're going to be asked the questions later on, the answers that you should be looking at is assessment, evaluation, and synthesis. And in order to answer all these things, you need to have a discussion. You need to look at it from both sides of points and give your argument based on that. And you can use some relevant examples to do that. That's why the more you guys talk, it will enrich the discussion. And that is where you actually going to use your answers lah nanti. Okay, Cik Rosian, ada apa nak tanya? You on your mic.
Yeah, Cronbach Alpha ni, is it extensively used?
Dia sebenarnya bila you nak buat research memang kena pakai. Dia tidak boleh tak pakai. Okay.
Okay, tengah buka Wikipedia ni baca.
Comrade Alpha ni ada calculation dia. Tak apa, sekarang ni you tak perlu tahu, cuma you kena tahu the thought process saja, itu saja. Tapi bila you buat research, when you want to set the question, then ketika you buat qualitative question, then your lecturer should be asking you, are you asking the right question? How do you know this is a valid question? You need to do the testing. Yeah, that's where you start learning about Comrade Alpha. That's where you start to learn about eager values dan sebagainya. Adalah benda-benda lain yang you tak perlu tahu lah malam ni. Bila you belajar tu nanti you akan tahu benda-benda ni. Ada tak this variable influence another variable. Macam mana kita nak pecahkan tu variable supaya dia jadi independent? Tak apa, hari ni you perlu tahu sedikit saja. Dia bukan pre-condition nak dapat grade terbaik dalam kelas. Dia punya tahu sedikit saja. At least you know lah. Tak perlu tahu the technicality, so tak perlu tahu. Okay, dekat 12 suku ya. Alright, so people have a nice evening. Yeah. Hope you have a nice weekend too. Okay.